We're going to reconvene the meeting for the closed session, and City Attorney Lyon will report out on the closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The full council met in closed session on the one item listed. Direction was given. No reportable action was taken. Thank you.
Adjourn the closed session and meeting, and now we're going to do another gavel, call a regular meeting to order. As a courtesy to others, please silence your cell phones during the meeting and engage in conversations outside the chambers. The city clerk has an announcement. If you need to speak on any item, please fill out the card here. If you need to speak on the public comment period before the meetings, the regular agenda items, you can do that. Or for an agenda item, just fill out the blue card and you can give it to the city clerk. Oh, that's what you're going to say. Did you want to add anything else? Okay, there you go. Okay, that was it. Madam Clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember West.
Here.
Councilmember Spriggs.
Here.
Councilmember Aguirre.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Patton.
Here.
Mayor Dedina.
Here. And now it's my pleasure to invite Jane Lee Guerra Banuelos from Imperial Beach Charter School to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. According to her teacher, Mrs. Michelle Gates, Jane Lee is an exceptional young lady. She's been quite a standout since the first day of school. She's the kind of student teachers wish for. She goes above and beyond in class to offer her strongest work and ask for guidance when she needs it. Thank you so much for being here.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And as we said, you guys have no obligation to stay. Thank you. So now we have council member reports, starting with Councilmember West.
Good evening, everybody. So since our last meeting, it was a busy time. As your representative of the San Diego Bayshore Bikeway, we met and talked about, we focused on the last segments. We really are focusing on the San Diego section and also finishing the National City. Very excited about that. That was on December 17th. San Diego County Regional Airport Authority, I met with the Executive Finance on December 20th, and on the December 21st, I was lucky enough to have the fill in for the mayor while went to the Sandag board meeting. There was some very interesting discussions about at Sandag. We talked about Power Your Drive and all the implications for really trying to make transit more friendly in our community. So it was a great start out. And then on January 3rd, we had the Regional Airport Authority Board and ALUC. We had a PowerPoint presentation from Spa War, and they're really coming to look at, I don't know if you've heard in the news recently about how Spa War is really trying to develop that property. And it's got the idea of being the Grand Central Station of San Diego for our transportation hub. So really excited. I know the mayor's probably got more information about that, but I think it's a great thing. And then last but not least, if you're not doing anything on Monday, we have our third Clean Cities Initiative starting at Rose Teeple Park. Come out, give back to your community on a day that means so much to all of America. This is a day when we come out and we clean up our city, and we really focus on our northern part of our town. It goes from 10 to 12 at Rose Teeple Park. We already have 240 volunteers, so please come on out. I look forward to everybody being there from 10 to 12.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Spriggs.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And welcome back, everybody, for a new and exciting year of Imperial Beach City Council business. On December 9th, I guess that was after our December meeting, I attended, in the place of the mayor who couldn't make it, a conference in Long Beach sponsored by the Coastal States organization, a nationwide organization of coastal states, on the question of sea level rise and the specific issue of managed retreat. And I'm waiting for the notes to come out of that discussion. I played a very active role in it, and I think it will be very interesting for us to take a look at those results as we prepare our finalized preparation of our local coastal program. On January 3rd, I attended a new Metro Joint Powers Agreement or Metro Wastewater Commission subcommittee meeting that I've just been appointed to that just got created on legal affairs facing the Metro Wastewater Commission in its complex relationship with the city of San Diego as we try to maintain a balance with the Pure Water program, a multi-billion-dollar program to provide recycled water to the whole metropolitan area. There are huge costs associated with that program, and our job for the participating agencies, which are the smaller cities around San Diego, is to make sure that the costs are reasonable and appropriate for that project. And so we have a legal committee that was formed in order to look at some of the legal aspects of it. I attended on this Monday with Councilmember Paloma Aguirre and the city manager and assistant city manager, the San Diego chapter of the League of California Cities business meeting. The special guest was the new SANDAG executive director, Hassan Ikrata, and he laid out a very, very interesting presentation on his vision for transportation and connecting the airport to the rest of the transportation system so that it'll be far more convenient and easy to get in and out of the airport using rail and other kinds of transportation. So this is what San Diego, I think he convinced us, almost everybody there, that in order to be a great city, we've got to have a great transportation hub. And that means that we've got to be able to get in and out of the airport without going through the hell that we all go through whenever we pick somebody up or drop anybody off there. Finally, tomorrow I'm heading to Sacramento. Once again, I will be on, but not the chair of, the League of California Cities Housing, Community, and Economic Development Policy Committee. I'll be attending that meeting as a league president appointee. And I'll also be meeting with staff on the other business that I'm most concerned about with the league, which is my role this year as chair again for the second year of the Coastal Cities, 61 Coastal Cities group for the League of California Cities, looking at all the coastal issues that we all have in common, and especially in light of sea level rise and other coastal developments. So it's going to be a busy year. We're also, as I mentioned at our last meeting, we're also planning on having a joint session with the coastal cities, the coastal counties, with the Coastal Commission to try to arrive at a more compatible and collaborative approach to addressing questions like sea level rise, land use management along the coast, how to preserve our beaches, how to protect property and development at the same time. Right now, it's a very difficult and contentious relationship between all the cities and the counties and the Coastal Commission. So we're all interested in working that out for the, for the better. And so that'll be taking place the first half of this year, meetings leading up to a joint workshop and hopefully a new sort of protocol on how we do these complex issues. That's it, Mr. Mayor. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Aguirre.
Good evening, everyone. December 13th, I attended the Metropolitan Transit System Board meeting. We discussed several items, but of importance, we discussed the next generation fare collection system. We are looking to transition to iPhone or application where we could have multiple accounts on one single account on your iPhone or on any smartphone. We also discussed the budget deficit. MTS is in a hole of $10 million. So we discussed different strategies to make changes in fares so that we can offset that budget deficit. Then on December 14th, I attended with Mayor Dedina a meeting with the mayor of Ensenada. He invited us to discuss opportunities to cross-promote tourism within both of our cities. And then on December 21st, I attended a luncheon that was convened by the Senator of Baja California, Jaime Bonilla. It was attended by Mayor Faulkner and Jerry Sanders, who leads the San Diego Regional Chamber of Commerce, as well as a number of council members from the city of San Diego and the city of Tijuana. What he briefed us on is three major things that are his priorities, and one of those is the environment and water quality in our region. He acknowledged the issues that we have here with cross-border pollution. As we all know, or shoreline right now is closed. One of the collectors in the city of Tijuana collapsed, and it has not been repaired for over a month now. So he acknowledged that, and we hope that he can continue to advocate for federal Mexican funding to make the repairs, the necessary repairs of these collectors throughout the city of Tijuana that have been causing us so much impact to our city.
And he's the representative for the president of Mexico in Baja.
That is correct. So his party is the same party of the president of Mexico, and he's the main contact and lead for the state of Baja California.
Great. Thank you. Mr. Patton.
Thank you. It's been a quiet couple weeks for me. Taking a little break. I did go visit the Daisy 5 new condo unit on Daisy Street. And I think it's really important that these developers, when they come into town and we approve the project, that we get invitations to go look at what we approve, to really see exactly the end result. And I think that should happen more often, definitely. If you drive down Seacoast, you'll notice Hess Brewery has broken ground on Date Street, and that's going to be exciting to see what exactly comes out of that, from shipping containers to IB Taco is going to be in there too, street tacos. Market to Market has also done a lot of upgrades on their building on Seacoast. New stucco, new paint, awnings, and I think it's real important that businesses really upgrade and make Imperial Beach what it should be and what it is. And so I'm excited that businesses are really following new construction. They may not be new construction, but they want to make themselves look good. So that's important. And IB is looking good, and I'm excited for the new year. Mr. West, I'll see you picking trash on Monday, and hope to see everybody in here. I know your faces. Okay. All right, thank you.
Great, thank you. I'll do my little comment on under the consent item for the water quality stuff. Now we have Fire Chief French as a storm preparation update. And if some of you don't know, we have another major storm hitting the coast tomorrow, and potentially 10 to 15 foot surf on Friday, the start of our king tide period, which caused by a storm that meteorologists are calling a hurricane force low again off the coast. So we're going to get hammered. So thank you for updating us on what's to come, and then what our city's doing about it.
Yeah, and then Mayor, Honorable Mayor, City Council, more of what I'm going to be talking about tonight is more of a preparation type thing for the citizens. Like the mayor said, we're going to have some high tides and possibly some king tides this weekend. And along with that, we're going to have some high surf. We might luck out a little bit because we don't have any rain attached with that. Most of that's going to be, tonight and tomorrow. But as a preparation for that, we've had the 10 yards of sand added to our pile behind the station, along with sandbags. But what we're going to be doing tomorrow as a city staff, and up here on the PowerPoint, the fire station has been our only location for sandbags. As of tomorrow, we're going to add sandbags filled with sand to 2 other locations. So it's going to be the Elkwood parking lot at Elkwood and Seacoast, and then the Palm Avenue parking lot at Palm and Seacoast. So we're going to have some pallets with sand on them, with sandbags. So city staff tomorrow, we're going to be filling up some sandbags and getting them to those locations. So it's a little easier for the community to get those sandbags. They're going to be for the public to use, and hopefully not the construction sites and the contractors in there, taking all the sandbags. So what we've done in the past is allowed 10 sandbags per resident. So hopefully we can, keep the residents to that. If they need a few more, we're not going to squabble over that. So if anybody in the city needs help with sandbags, during business hours, they can call our number 619-423-8223 at the fire station. And if you need any updates on advisories or storm conditions, you can look at our website and get the information on that. But city staff's always trying to look for better ways to improve and help the citizens. So we're thinking that by placing sandbags in these strategic locations, that'll really help. And the next picture here, I said, we're always willing to help at the fire station, do sandbags. And when our 10 yards were loaded, Tom was sitting there waiting to help fill sandbags.
Obviously, he has no idea how that shovel works.
Yeah. So, you know, the storm's a serious thing, but we got to have fun with it. So I added Tom's picture up here. So.
And then thanks for the update. Thanks for the sandbags as well. And I think it was a few years ago we handed out more than 10,000 sandbags or something like that. So, and I'm assuming public safety and then our sheriffs and our lifeguards, public works will be out, especially Friday morning. But we'll have big surf and big tides throughout the weekend. But the biggest flooding we should expect, according to scripts, is on Friday. So I want to emphasize, you live in South Seacoast, you need to be aware of that, of what's coming. John as well, Palm Avenue. We're just talking about some really big surf, and we've got a little bit of what's called thermal expansion because the water's so warm, and what's called the Pacific Decadal Oscillation. I can finally say that correctly. We're basically water shifting from the Western Pacific to the Eastern. That combined with warm water is just raising the levels of the ocean, and we're thinking according to scripts, we now have a buoy offshore, so they're actually doing some predictive modeling to let us know when they think this flooding is going to happen. Although they got it wrong in December, so we got caught a little bit unaware of what some of the flooding that happened in December. I think they were just getting used to that. But definitely, I want to emphasize what's coming on Friday is big surf. The surf line graph says 16 feet, which we don't always see. And anybody's a surfer here, so I just want to thank our city for being out there. But we'll be out there, but definitely don't drive. If you don't know anything about driving in saltwater, it's the absolute worst thing you can do for your car. Even if you have a bro dude truck, as all of us who lived in Baja or spent a lot of time in Baja, you're going to kill your truck, drive a lot through salt water. So anyway, but beach is closed, so that's even more of a bummer because we could have polluted water coming over the berms. So anyway, thank you so much, Fire Chief. Thank you, French. And now we have public comments.
No, you're right.
Good. We have Cheryl Quinones from the South Bay School District.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. My name is Cheryl Quinones. This year I am the president of the South Bay Union School District. And good evening, audience. Today I come to share that we have 3 new board members that are with us on the governing team, and we look forward to working collaboratively with the city. Andy, you've been so helpful with our superintendent and our city staff, as well as our mayor and pro tem mayor and Mark here and Ed and Paloma supporting our school district in many, many ways. And particularly this year, I've seen a participation level that I haven't seen in the 30 years or 40 years I've been with the South Bay Union School District, which is a participation on the city part. And 5 years ago when I met the mayor walking, I saw that bridge coming, and that bridge was built. And now we are here 5 years later, and we're walking across that bridge, Mr. Mayor, and we're walking together, all of us together, for what's best for kids. So with that, I leave with one ask. Send your kids to school every day. Every day is important. Not only for our ADA allotments, which is $50 a day minus 1 kid, but our average ADA is 91 to 92% daily. Hundreds of thousands of dollars are lost every day due to absences, let alone the education. So the most important ask, send your kids to school every day. Thank you very much. Thank you for the time and your participation in our school district.
We have June Frost from the IB Library.
Hey everybody, I'm June Frost and I'm the branch manager at the Imperial Beach Library, 810 Imperial Beach Boulevard. I just want to let you know about an upcoming event. For those who have not heard, we got a new toy in the library, and my nickname for it is New Toy. We have a laptop kiosk, and what that essentially is a laptop vending machine. So instead of having to go through the whole process of signing contracts and checking in and checking out, you walk up to the vending machine, you wand in your library card, and a laptop will pop out for you to use within the library. We have 12 brand new laptops too, all with, I think, Windows 10 installed upon them. We're very excited about it. We are a test location for the county with this new toy. I keep asking them, well, if it's a vending machine, where's the sandwiches and the Snickers bars? But they're not quite buying it. This was Supervisor Cox's baby from the very beginning when we opened the library. We are going to be hosting a ribbon cutting on the 22nd at 10 a.m. in the library. I'd like to invite you all to come, as well as everyone else if you'd like to come. I have some flyers here, which I will drop off with Jackie. And thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Now we have Kim Frink from Suncoast Co-op.
Good evening. Thank you. My name is Kim Frank, and I'm an Imperial Beach resident and president of Suncoast Market Co-op. And I wanted to give you a very quick update on our progress in opening a community-owned natural foods grocery store for Imperial Beach. We're currently about 15 owner members are joining the co-op each month, and we're now up to almost 270 owners. And our board and other volunteers are working very hard to accelerate that pace. And our goal is to get to 500 owner members before the end of this year. The people joining co-op, joining Suncoast are not only from Imperial Beach, but from Coronado, Nestor, Chula Vista, and other surrounding South Bay communities. And one of the advantages to having, one of the advantages to both the city and local businesses to having a co-op, NIB, is that co-ops tend to draw from a larger market area than other traditional grocery stores. So just like we currently have people in Imperial Beach that are driving to Sprouts and Trader Joe's and Boney's and stores like that, when we have a co-op, we'll have people from other communities wanting to shop in Imperial Beach. And it will not only keep more of our food dollars from leaving our community, but bringing more food dollars in. The 500 milestone I mentioned is really important because based on the experience of other food co-ops that have opened in the last 10 years, when we get to that 500 mark, we'll be able to demonstrate that we have the level of community support that we need to be successful. And we can start looking for a location. We can start talking to landlords and possibly developers if it's feasible to go into a new development. And we can start having conversation with the city, with community development funders, banks and credit unions about the grants and the loans that we'll need in order to finance the opening of the co-op. Later this year, we'll be working in preparation for those discussions on the financial pro forma and the business plan. But right now our focus is really on growing ownership and so that we can reach that 500 mark and get the store open as soon as possible. So I wanted to let people know that we have 2 informational events coming up soon. If you know friends, neighbors, or businesses that have not yet joined the co-op, please invite them to attend, and we have details about all our events on the Suncoast webpage, which is suncoastmarket.coop, and on our Facebook page. And the first event will be on January 24th. It's going to be a fun and informational happy hour at Verandina's at 6 p.m. And on February 12th at 9:30 in the morning, we will have our monthly coffee with the co-op. So it's just an informal coffee and conversation so people can come ask questions, and that'll be at 9:30 at Red House Kitchen. So I hope everyone will help us to spread the word that it's important to join Suncoast Market Co-op soon so that we can bring this much needed resource to our community. So thank you.
Thank you very much. We have Jerry Bice.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. My name is Jerry Bice. I'm a IB resident and homeowner. My wife said I needed to write this stuff down because I have a tendency to ramble. So she said, write it down. So I have written it down. In previous public settings, both the mayor and the city mayor indicated that the concept of managed retreat would be removed from the next draft of the city's general plan local coastal program. That's very welcome news. I, as well as many others, encourage the city to release the next draft of the GP LCP very soon, so that this subject can be reviewed by the public. Not only should the term managed retreat be removed from the document, but also any concept or terms that imply a form of eminent domain. I never can say that correctly. Such as phased relocation. Interesting comment. Furthermore, I urge the City Council to go even further, simply further than just deleting the word managed retreat from the GP and the LCP. The Council should adopt a resolution or ordinance that details why the City of Imperial Beach emphatically rejects managed retreat and emphasize the specific reasons for this rejection. This is exactly what has been done by Del Mar City Council, and this is what should be done by the City of IB. Also, I'd like to put a plug in for 4.1 for George. I didn't.
You can't, I'm sorry.
I can't do that. Okay,
Yeah.
never mind. I can't.
And you're using your time, so.
Okay, thank you.
Are you done?
I'm done. Thank you.
Okay, if you want to come back and speak for that project, you're more than welcome to.
Thank you.
Okay. Ms. House, Felicia House, did you want to have a public comment or you have an agenda item? I have a card here for you. But it says you're not sure what you're speaking. I'm sorry?
The public.
Okay, sure. But not on a specific agenda item, is that correct?
No.
Okay. Okay.
Hi, everyone. Mr. Mayor and the council members. Everybody. I'm Felicia House, and I don't know if everybody knows me. I hope not. But unless, of course, I knocked on your door, then I want you to know me anyway. I want to talk to you about affordable housing. I don't know what the council plans to do about it. But when I talked to my constituents, that was one of the main things that was on their hearts. And it's on mine. It's personal now. But the first time that I was campaigning with you, we were talking about it. I was campaigning with Mark, and we were talking about it. This time around, it was a personal thing because I actually found myself searching for a home in Imperial Beach. And can you believe it? It was the most difficult thing that I'd ever encountered. It took an enormous amount of prayer. And some people don't have the support system that I have. My family and I pooled our incomes and were able to find out, I don't know about affordable, but we do have housing in the city that we dearly love. And so I want to know what your plan is for people like me who found themselves homeless, trying to wonder how this happened. I had a landlord who, I want to say property owner, because I think that we can do this together with our neighbors. It doesn't have to be you and them. It doesn't have to be we and us. It can be we and us trying to overcome a problem. I understand the owner's point, but there are people that are in Imperial Beach that have raised their children here and all of a sudden find themselves in a position where they are truly looking at having to leave the city that they love. It's personal this time around. And so I'm just wondering what the city council and the mayor has in mind. I'm going to be working on this personally. So you'll be seeing me up there. Just get used to it. I'm going to smile big for you. But I'm going to be standing here talking to you about affordable housing. I'm going to educate myself and learn the difference between low income and affordable housing. I'm going, and I am a believer that I don't know a Republican or a Democrat. I know my neighbors. I know my constituents. And I'm a believer that we can come together. I'm talking about people that have been here for years, finding themselves in a situation where they may have to leave the place that they raised their children. Their grandchildren come over to their houses. That's what I'm talking about. And I want to know what your plan is. Thank you so much for your time.
Great, thank you. Now we have Dan Holian.
Hello there, my name is Dan Holian. Been a resident for almost 28 years in Imperial Beach. I live at 420 Carnation Avenue. The only reason I'm down here is we've had a problem in our neighborhood, a constant problem. It has to deal with drugs, hard to believe, but and then we also have auto theft going on. It's all pertains to an address at 602 4th Street. The house was owned by Mrs. Ray, who passed away in October. Her son wound up going to prison before that. So he hasn't been able to be around, but either his girlfriend / wife has been staying at the house. The place has turned into a squatter's. We've had numerous drug activities, dealing with methamphetamine and stuff like that. Just a little quick information. I'm a retired police officer, so if I see something, I kind of have the knowledge to say, yeah, that kind of looks wrong. We have the people at the residence threatening my neighbors on both sides of the house and on other houses in the neighborhood, vandalizing their cars, chasing each other down the street with baseball bats, smashing windshields out. We've called the sheriff's department. I personally called at least 25 times. Deputies come out, do the little notebook, piss off, and leave. On December 1st, big fight going on in front of the residence, only a baseball bat chasing again. I go out there, watch the guy get into the car, who doesn't live there. He takes off, I follow him. Follow him a couple blocks away, call up the sheriff's department, and let him know what's going on. Watch the vehicle return to the residence. Guy gets out, I walk over and talk to him. I'm about this far distance away. I can smell alcohol on this guy. Bloodshot eyes, everything for a perfect DUI. Sheriff's deputies show up. I explained to him what's going on. The deputy sat there and said, we'll investigate it. I said, I will place him under citizen's arrest, which for DUI. We will go over there and we will check it out. Well, 10 minutes later, the deputies are back in their vehicle, down the street. Guy's back in the house. Guy's back out threatening my neighbors at 403 Carnation, at 404 Carnation, and threatening me. They're not just on their property. They walk across the street and threaten us. And again, like I said, we call, nothing happens. We've talked to the owner of the property, one of the brothers up in, right now lives up in Seattle. He says he's trying to do something about it. We have approximately 8 to 10 people squatting in the backyard with pup tents. They have, what else on there? Pup tents. They open up the garage door every once in a while when they're bringing bicycles in, and then bicycle parts come out. So that's the type of stuff that's going on there. I've gone down after that incident on December 1st. I went down to the sheriff's department right over here, stood out here for an hour and a half waiting for the supervisor to come in because I went to file a complaint about it. Told him, being a retired police officer, let's keep it in-house, see if we can just see. Explained everything that goes on. I said the neighbors have requested extra patrol. They've come in here requesting extra patrol. Sad part, we don't see a deputy in our neighborhood except maybe if he's lost. Okay. Then the deputy, the supervisor, sergeant calls me back, Sergeant Ramirez, and 20 minutes later after I talked to him, oh, I've reviewed all the tapes. I reviewed everything. I don't see anything where anything really occurred. I said, well, citizen's arrest, nothing occurred. He didn't accept my citizen's arrest. I said, you know, that's it. So just to let you know, this is what type of law enforcement you're getting down here. Next time, if I do have a complaint, I'll just go up and talk to Bill Gore up on Ridgehaven. Maybe something with this building over here might get something done.
Well, I'd like to get together with, maybe you can follow up Mr. Hawley, and we can see what if this is a code enforcement issue as well that we can.
We've contacted code enforcement.
Well, we'll follow up on it. I promise you. And let's schedule a meeting so we can. Thank you so much for bringing this to our attention.
Thank
we really
have a nice night.
In the public comment, we can't really respond, but we're asking for a meeting, and if I have to be there as well, it'll be fine. Great. Thank you.
Glad to talk.
And we'll make sure you get our contact info. You can just call us in the future directly,
Okay.
so we can help.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right.
And I appreciate you helping take care of that neighborhood. Noreen Sullivan.
Good evening. My name is Noreen Sullivan. I live at 228 Citrus Avenue. I'm speaking on behalf of close to 60 of the residents north and south of Palm Avenue between 3rd and the beach, who have signed a petition expressing their concern about the rising density level of traffic on Palm, specifically as it relates to the building project proposed for that area.
I think that's item 4.
I'm
So,
sorry?
Are you commenting on item 4 or 4.1? Is that what you're commenting on, the proposed project that's on the agenda?
It's the brewery and the apartment building.
Yeah, so we'll hold on, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's for item 4.1. So we'll call you back when that's being presented,
thank
okay? Thank you so much. Now we have Dante Pamintuan.
Good evening, everyone. Wanted to say God bless America and God bless Imperial Beach. God bless our mayor and our city council and our city staff for everything you guys do and your service for Imperial Beach. 2 things I wanted to bring up tonight. First of all, I've noticed a lot of graffiti next to our fellow Otay Nestor community. I don't know if anybody else has seen it, but I've noticed a lot of graffiti over there on Del Sol Boulevard, as well as off of Iris and some other areas. But the reason I wanted to bring this up is because City of Imperial Beach has a fantastic anti-graffiti program. And if we can get together with maybe Rodel Reyes over at City of San Diego, he runs a neighborhood nonprofit, and he tries to do the best he can with painting over that graffiti as fast as they can. I think the way that Imperial Beach has set their standards for graffiti removal, it's awesome. I just want to say that it's just amazing. So I wanted to see if we can step it up and partner with City of San Diego here, because that's the Otay Nestor area is the entranceway to Imperial Beach. And if our kids are seeing that, and I know Cheryl Quinones spoke about our kids, maybe we can get together with some of the trustees with the school board and get together with the realtors. Let's form up a real powerful team to fight against this anti-graffiti. So with that, the second thing I wanted to bring up, on November 14th, I attended a SANDAG meeting, and I was addressing the SANDAG board. Terry Sano was the chairman at the time, and he's also a member of the Del Mar City Council. And I wasn't able to finish my speech because it was a really delicate meeting. So I wanted to just finish it off here, and it had to do with managed retreat. And so I wanted to just read off what I had for notes. Here. Wanted to say that there's a lot of Imperial Beach residents, homeowners, and advocates of private property rights that will never surrender to managed retreat. Many Imperial Beach homeowners want the language of managed retreat to be removed from the draft local coastal plan and general plan. Imperial Beach is full of smart and patriotic people. We are optimistic with innovative ideas that will shore up our coastal defenses and protect homes and property, both private and public. We are inspired by the strong leadership of the Del Mar City Council. You are truly an inspiration for us and the other coastal cities that will follow your lead. Thank you for adopting your commitment resolution that removes the wording of managed retreat and any ambiguous implications of eminent domain. Your leadership and advocacy for homeowners and private property rights is exactly what is needed in today's very divided political climate. I will conclude with our Marine Corps motto.
Did you have a lot more?
Fidelis means always faithful. Excuse me?
Did you have a lot more?
No, I'm finishing up.
Okay.
Thank you. Semper Fidelis means always faithful. Americans, for the most part, don't surrender. Imperial Beach patriots say Semper Fi. San Diego, Coronado, Encinitas, Leucadia, Carlsbad, Oceanside, they're next. We hope you're listening and will follow the lead set by Del Mar. Thank you.
Now we have presentations. I'd like to ask if we can have 1.3, the recognition of City of Imperial staff accomplishments for 2018, before 1.1 and 1.2. We don't have to vote. Well, I've been asked, we don't have to vote for that. So, if that's okay. All right. Deputy City Manager Cortez will give the presentation. So we have item 1.3, recognition of City of Imperial Beach staff accomplishments for 2018.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, community. I have the honor to introduce today some of our staff members that have had milestones and academic accomplishments. Management team got together. You know, we've had a long list. So as I call them up to the front, I'm going to ask the community if we can hold their applaud till the end. We have a large group. And we're going to continue to do this on an annual basis. I just wanted to say a little bit about Imperial Beach and their tuition program is a very successful program, and I'm glad to see that a lot of our employees are taking advantage of this program and that they see that they have management support with flexible work schedules, and they continue to succeed. With that said, I do have a long list. So again, if we can hold the applause for the end, as I called your name, if you can please step to the front. So we'll snap a picture at the end. We're going to start with the City Clerk's Department, Sunim Carballo. She accomplished her Certified Municipal Clerk certification. Ryan Pua accomplished Bachelor's degree in Public Administration. Moving to the Community Development Department, Tyler Foltz, the American Institute of Certified Planners. Leslie Seifert, Certified Code Compliance Officer. Sam Kowara, Certified Code Enforcement Officer. And in Human Resources, Nadia Moreno, International Public Management Association, Professional Certification. Then we move into our Public Safety. Jason Bell, Master's Degree in Emergency Management. Craig Weber, CERT Program Manager Certification. And then our Public Works Department, we have several divisions. I'm going to start with the Sewer Division. Mark Garcia, Collection Systems Maintenance Grade 2. Hector Martinez, Collection Systems Maintenance Grade 2. Jose Ramos, Collection Systems Maintenance Grade 2. Jorge Honorato, Collection Systems Maintenance Grade 1. Then on our Streets Department, we also have Macario Gomez, who accomplished his General Education Diploma. In our Parks Department, we have Kyle Henderson, who actually accomplished 2 certifications, Qualified Applicator and the Playground as well. I'm sorry, I missed somebody from the Community Development Department, Damian Nowak, Certified Commercial Building Inspector. And I hope I didn't miss any other employees. As you can see, we've accomplished a lot in 1 year. So with that said, I respectfully ask the public for a big round of applause. And if you guys can line up a little bit, please. Courtney, the Special Events Coordinator, is going to snap a picture.
Oh, they're the ones that got the education. Now they're the ones that got
While Courtney does that, I just want to say, you know, aside from a professional and personal development, their continuing education obviously benefits the city and their position, and it adds a lot of value. So thank you, everyone, for all your accomplishments, and I hope you continue. We're here to support you.
Thanks so much. I want to thank our staff, our employees for, and the program is really great to see incentives for people to get extra education. So thank you. And now is Kenny Morano here? Kenny, there you are. Great. So item 1.1 is actually really awesome. And Kenny, do you want to come up here? Item 1.1 is special recognition of Kenny Majorano. We'd like to invite Kenny to come to the front of the dais and give him the certificate of recognition. So if anybody doesn't know, Kenny is the legendary manager of the Crystal Clean Car Wash. Everyone in IB knows Kenny. Yeah, well, and he's one of my favorite people in IB to talk to. It's one of my favorite absolute places. It's a landmark Imperial Beach business. And so we're so glad you're here, but we are so sad. But you started working at Crystal Clean Car Wash on November 17th, 1980 as a general worker. John, were you even at Mar Vista yet? I think, or did you just show up in 1980 from Wisconsin? I think you just, I think, so we were either in 10th or 11th grade at the time. So that's how, yeah, that's 4 months in the job. He got promoted as manager and remained in that position until December of 2018, a total of 38 years. Yeah, that's 39, okay. So anyway, he's now retiring, and he'll be staying in his home, enjoying IB, enjoying the beach, and a library, our parks, our concert, and cookout events, everything that IB has to offer. But we are going to miss your absolute passion and enthusiasm for our community. So we give Kenny a big round of applause. And I know that Councilmember Spriggs had a couple of words to say, and we can do a photo.
Mark, council member stole my my thunder there because I got a free one next. I want to make sure it's going to be honored by your successors, right? Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. All right. Well, this guy is a bulwark of our community. Everybody who gets their car washed usually gets it washed at Crystal Clean, and we really thank you for your service and, you know, going the extra mile. I mean, I don't necessarily ask for the super duper car wash, but you know, you make sure that those wheels are done and everything is done, and you do that for everybody. So thank you very much for imparting that kind of culture into the staff at Crystal Clean, and for your service to the community.
You guys want to do a photo?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Kidding? Photo.
Thanks, Kenny. There's a photo of the crew in that car wash, including it was one of the guys in the photo is Mike Rorty. I grew up with, and I think Mike passed away. It's one of the all-time great photos of IB locals and IB institutions. So really nice to have Kenny come up. Now we have item 1.2, presentation by the Imperial Beach Arts Bureau, and Mr. Malcolm Jones from the IB Arts Bureau will give the presentation.
Honorable Mayor, City Council, staff, citizens of IB. I'm Malcolm Jones. I'm here tonight to give a quick rundown on the activities of the Imperial Beach Arts Bureau. I'm the author of Surfhenge. I'm the sculptor who made that. And I moved here 3.5 years ago. Mayor Dedina recommended that I get in contact with the Arts Bureau, which was kind of fledgling at the time. We started out by decorating the hall when the state of the city was presented by Mayor Dedina about 3 years ago. Since then, we've kind of moved on to other art activities. The idea was to promote the arts in Imperial Beach, do the best we could, and our way of
sort of making Imperial Beach more beautiful, hopefully turning it into a art destination at some point in the future. Yes. Sorry about that. This is our crew, under driving forces. These are the art community, the Art Bureau members. Alan Wisely, Todd Stans, who's since moved on, Dave Frink, and Ann Porter. We work to we're working together with the city as much as we can, and the mayor to do our murals mostly in the city of IB, and our principles and our mission are up there. But basically, we're about community involvement, getting people involved in the arts, and and beautifying Imperial Beach as much as possible with our limited resources. We started back in 2015, and our first project was on the corner of Imperial Beach Boulevard and Seacoast. There's a property there with a fence, and we decided that it would look better with some pictures of IB on it. We then partnered with Four Walls International, and we worked on the what's been called the People's Park, or across the street from the new hotel here south, and that's us building the sculptures that are currently there. And we had a lot of volunteers. We worked with the mayor, who put up a poster asking for input. We did the best we could to sort of interpret that, and on a very limited budget, redid a sort of blighted area that was on Seacoast, right across the street from the hotel. There was a lot of volunteers. We have a lot of volunteer input in our program, and it's been very encouraging to see who turns out for these projects and help us out. The next big project that we did was at the mayor's request on the end of 10th Street at Iris by the Naval Outlying Field. There was an empty lot that had basically was covered with weeds. We partnered with Four Walls International on that one, and put up a large mural on the back fence by the base. It has hardscape benches. We turned it into a little park. We collaborated with the Kumeyaay and put in 6 sculptures, one of which is in the corner down there. That represents a sacred bird that the Kumeyaay Nation uses. We did some imagery from them, what we call sort of the tri-national area, the Kumeyaay Nations, the cross-border Mexico and United States, and tried to sort of encapsulate some of the history in the local area in this park. It turned out beautifully. We're very proud of it.
They really represent sort of the one of the best collaborations that we've done. It was accepted by the community in the area. They had some doubts at first, but it's worked out very well. And yeah, then we embarked on a mural program, which we called Rock the Walls. The idea was to do a mural a month for the year 2018. This one at the bottom was done by a 14-year-old girl, local IB resident. Its location is behind the donut shop. I don't know if you all are familiar with Fesh Nuts, the old donut shop on Palm Avenue. The owners are locals and very interesting. And this young lady approached them about putting mural, made a proposal. The owner was charmed, and within a matter of weeks, we had this mural up on the back of the donut shop. If you have a chance to drive around behind the donut shop, it's really worth the trip. It was part of the first phase of our 12 mural project, Rock the Walls. This is another picture from Rock the Walls. It's the AT&T building on 13th and Palm Avenue. It was a favorite project of Mayor Dedina. This one was possibly one of the longest pursuits of a single art mural that's ever been done. It was over 4 years to get approval to do this. And it was spearheaded by Todd Stans. And in my mind, it's the Sistine Chapel of murals in this area. I think the building is transformed. There's murals on the west, south, and east side of the building. And they even tie in with the power boxes, which had been painted previously. One of the more visible projects, mural projects in IB. This one is one of my favorites. We call it Flamingo Trail. When the new housing project went in on Palm Avenue, at the, I guess it's Pond 20 area, they put in a new trail that connects to the Bay Shore Bike Trail. And we renamed the little trail that had been added by the developer, the Flamingo Trail, after a flamingo that has showed up in Imperial Beach and in the South Bay area. This is another one that was kind of spearheaded by Todd Stans, and it's an informational exhibit along about 150 feet of wall. It has pictures of the birds that are in the South Bay area, the most typical birds, and it's visible from Palm Ave, from the Silver Strand as you come down towards IB. It has about 100 birds with little informational panels that tell you when the birds show up, what they're named, and it's been really popular. This one had one of the biggest turnouts for volunteers that we ever had. It was about 200 people showed up at various times over 2 weekends to help paint this thing, and it's really quite a tribute to the wildlife in the area, and part of our kind of purpose to bring to light some of the more hidden aspects of IB, some of the things that qualify it as a is first-class birder territory in the United States. This one is on the 10th Avenue Public Works Station. Thank you. Appreciate it. This kind of talking makes me really nervous. This is another one where we collaborated with Four Walls International, decorate the outside of the Public Works fence, and also has some birds, and really helped out the new houses that were built across the street. Had a lot of community input on this one too. The turtle mural is on the bikeway, and this one was almost completely done by local students. We wanted to bring attention to the green turtles, which inhabit the South Bay. Not a lot of people know that they're around there. All of these were pictures done by local elementary school students and other people who have been interested in these turtle projects. It's on the bikeway and is very highly visible to the bikeway, and really added to that feature in our neighborhood. This one is a bench that the City of IB asked us to help out on in Triangle Park. This was an interesting 2-week project that we managed to do for $120 to help out the city. A lot of volunteer hours went into this one. We did it in the rain for the most part, and helped out with some beautification in this park on Palm Avenue. Here's another shot of another shot of the turtle mural on the Bayshore Bikeway. It's really a beautiful project and has a lot of ecological, environmental advice and information on the signage. This is another one of our Rock the Walls murals, done by a young woman named Michelle Ferrara, who's a new resident in the area. It stretches along a alleyway by Chase Bank, and it's also almost 100 feet long. This one is on the Scoreboard Sports Bar on Palm Avenue. It was a reflection of some ideas that the owner of the business had, and we put up a mural which is a nice addition to the Palm Ave corridor. This one is over by the sports park on the alley, and was done by Brendan Hobel, and is a really nice piece that is one of the last ones in the project of 12 murals. This is the same. This was done in the same group at the end of the project. It was done by one of the Imperial Beach Art Bureau members, and is a nice addition to the sports park and the baseball diamonds down in that area. This is a detail from the public house. These shots were taken by Brian, who's here tonight, and we'd like to thank him for taking such beautiful pictures of our murals. Another one from the sports park area. It was the last of the group of 12, and I want to thank Mark for organizing the 3 bicycle tours. At each phase, of 4 murals, we we had a bicycle tour that went around. The artists were there and got to explain and show off their work. It was a nice community event. This one is on the 7-Eleven on 2nd, I believe. And it's a very interesting piece that has managed to occupy a spot where we've had a problem with graffiti and actually had a mural painted over before. This one is a highly personal piece, but very nice artwork. And then finally, we want to thank the City Council for their support of our projects. We've always we enjoyed having your input. So, a lot of you have been sort of key helping us out here. Our next big project will be to go after the utility boxes. We're hoping to raise some serious money to paint and improve some of the Imperial boxes, the power boxes. And some of them have already been done. We're going to look at some in terms of sort of restoration, seeing what kind of state they're in, and fix up the other one. Have painted, possibly wrapped with this new technique of putting on, basically putting a painting on plastic and then wrapping the boxes. So we want to thank you for your support. We've really enjoyed working for the city in our capacity as a nonprofit, and we look forward to more work, more input.
Great. Thank you so much. Mr. West?
Yeah, just one quick thing. All of us, our beloved Todd Stans, did contact me a little bit less than a month ago, and he is really enjoying the road. He was personally in near the Everglades when he spoke with me, and it was nice to hear that he was really embracing all the things that he wanted to do, traveling and seeing the people of America and really experiencing what people from all over our country are experiencing. And he has enjoyed it immensely. And but he wanted to also say that he misses IB. So it's good to hear from Tom.
And I want to thank you for your leadership, Councilmember West, on our, a lot of these murals, making that happen. So thank you so much. Really appreciate it. But I want to thank the IB Arts Bureau. It's been really great. Can't wait to have so much more art in IB. And so, it's such a big deal. And I love seeing all these kids, take photos of each other and folks who visit, and, they're Instagramming it. And it's really, you guys spend all the money, but it's some of the best PR we can do because people are just sending those, they're going viral. So really great. And thanks, Mr. Billhart, for taking all those photos. I appreciate it. Yeah. So can't wait to see more art. And now we have consent calendar items 2.1 and 2.8. Before we vote on it, I just wanted to comment on item 2.3. That's the resolution regarding the cross-border pollution. Councilmember Aguirre talked about some of her work to reach out to folks in Mexico. What she didn't mention is that when we did a press conference when this collector pipe broke over a month ago, and really talked about the need of the city of San Diego to get on board with the lawsuit that we have filed. And essentially the city of San Diego is taking a free ride and not doing anything really or much at all to actually stop the flow of garbage, toxic waste, and sewage that is crossing through their property and costing them between $2 to $3 million a year to clean up. I was present at the meeting with the International Boundary and Water Commission, where the International Boundary and Water Commission interim director told us that they had no jurisdiction over the border, and it was responsibility of cities like San Diego and Imperial Beach to actually raise the money to fix the problem, or get nonprofits like the Boys and Girls Club or the Girl Scouts to raise the money. I'm actually not making that up. And I think at that point, the city of San Diego had been expecting somehow that the federal government was going to come to our rescue. And one of their stormwater people said, yeah, but we spend $2 to $3 million a year cleaning up anyway. So There's a reason why we're in federal court, and that's because for years we begged and we were told there was no problem. Then we demanded and we were told that we caused the problem. I'm not actually making that up, that the pollution doesn't come from Mexico, it comes from Point Loma, that the currents only go from north to south, that we're imagining the pollution is really not that bad, and that we should let them do their work. But what finally, when we had the tsunami sewage spill in February 2017, it really exposed basically what we had known all along, that the United States and Mexican governments had absolutely no intention at all of doing anything to help us. And that's because the International Boundary and Water Commission has actually admitted that. They have no intention of doing anything to help remedy the situation. And so I want to thank council members Aguirre and Mark West, who've been out advocating on behalf of the new city council in the city of San Diego to ask that city council to consider joining our lawsuit. I think they'll be doing that in, 2 weeks? So if there's anybody from the city of San Diego here, you should be asking your city council members in the city of San Diego to join that lawsuit. Vivian Moreno, the new District 8 council member from just east of us, did make call for joining that lawsuit. So that's good. And we know that there's a lot of folks in San Diego are asking to do that. So and I know you met with Mara Elliott last night and let her know, the city attorney of San Diego, that you expected her to advocate for that. So that's great. So we want to get everybody to the table, but we're going to continue advocating. There's another thing here about Councilmember Aguirre and I going to Mexico City in March. That's an important trip to advocate directly with the highest level of Mexican authorities to ask for that. But we're not begging anymore. We're not asking nicely. We're demanding, and more importantly, we're following what our constitutional right is, and that's the right to go to federal court and ask for the United States government to treat us equally under the law and not continue violating the law. So anyway, I just want to thank our entire city council, our city staff, and all of our residents for supporting this very, not complex, but detailed strategy. And the strategy is whatever we can do, it was the city of San Diego, county of San Diego, the port of San Diego, city of Chula Vista, United States government, state of California, the Mexican government, the Baja California government, the city of Tijuana, the private sector, we are doing it. We're going to continue doing it. But it's been a team effort. So I want to thank you guys for continuing that, but we'll continue because, right now the beach has been polluted for a month, and the south part of the beach has been polluted for a month. And then we just had a closure from IB to Coronado. And that's because raw sewage is being still discharged straight into the Tijuana River. So anyway, with that, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve consent calendar items numbers 2.1 through 2.8.
So moved. Second.
Great. Thank you. Please vote. We get that?
Motion carried unanimously.
Thank you. With that, we have public hearing 4.1. Let me make sure. 4.1 to 4.2, mixed-use development project at 236-238 Palm Avenue. Item A is George Broadway Senior and Jody Watkins Chartwell Development, asking for the construction of a mixed-use commercial development with 14 residential units. And item B is consideration of resolution number 2019-8002, vacating a portion of the city's right-of-way and approving the sale of such vacated right-of-way on easements pursuant to seeker exemption. I'd like to declare the public hearing open. Item numbers 4.1A and 4.1B will be considered simultaneously. Assistant City Manager Dish and Assistant City Community Development Director Faltz will give the report.
Yep, Mr. Mayor and staff and audience, unfortunately, I have to recuse myself from this due to a conflict of interest. I live within 500 feet of the project, so I will have to leave the room. So.
Great, we'll call you back in for the last item. Thanks. Great. You can do part. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. So to begin, we'll just show the portion of the right-of-way that is proposed for vacation and sale adjacent to the property at 236 Palm Avenue. This area is 3,262 square feet, and the applicant is George Broadway and Jody Watkins. This is an aerial of the overall project site, and the area south of this red line is the proposed area where the street vacation would take place. This area has been used mainly as a parking lot for this property for quite some time and hasn't been used for right-of-way purposes. So that's why it's being proposed as a vacation of right-of-way. And this is a site. We just drew a line here just to give you an idea if you're at a street level of the area that is city right-of-way. So the right-of-way sale would be $90,000. That was based on an appraised value of this area. As noted earlier, the right-of-way has been used by the adjacent owner for many years, decades. The right-of-way has not been needed for any public access, and the general plan even recommends to reduce 80-foot right-of-ways throughout the city. And this area exceeds that 80 feet exponentially. Some areas are about 75 feet or so, and then some portions exceed 160 feet in width of right-of-way. The right-of-way following the vacation would still continue to exceed 70 feet and will continue to provide street and sidewalk access. So the area that you see that's sidewalk and street today would continue to remain. And that leads into the project that's being proposed. Oh, it's not here. We'll get it, don't worry. Oops. All right, so the project is for the construction of a mixed-use project with 14 residential units above commercial space, and the amount of commercial space is 2,212 square feet. The project is located in the CMU2 zone, and just to the north of it is the R16000 zone. This is an aerial of the site that shows the private property in addition to the public right-of-way. The overall project site would total 12,401 square feet. And this is the site with the existing improvements and the existing building, which locates near the northern property line. These are the properties to the west, which are commercial. Properties to the east, which are commercial. To the south, which are mixed use. And to the north, which are residential. This is a rendering of the project site. The project is proposing a 35-foot height limit. Typically in the CMU2 zone, there's a 30-foot height limit, but with the proposal of a conditional use permit, you can propose a 35-foot height, which is what's being proposed by the applicant today. The minimum floor-to-ceiling height within the commercial space is 15 feet, and the applicant's proposing 20 feet, so they're exceeding that minimum requirement. This is a site plan of the project. 14 dwelling units are proposed by the applicant, 2 of which would be affordable. There are 9 one-bedroom units and 5 two-bedroom units. 17 parking spaces would be required. Because it's a vertical mixed-use project, it's proposing a reduction on parking, which is allowed per municipal code. 18 parking spaces are proposed, even though 17 are required. However, within these 18 parking spaces, there's columns. And next to the columns, our code says you have to increase a parking space 1 extra foot. So the parking spaces as shown with the 18 parking spaces are all 8.5 feet in width for the standard stalls, even those next to a column. The applicant can meet our code and provide that extra foot, so any parking space next to a column is 9.5 feet, but you remove 1 parking space from the project. So they can comply either way, 18 parking spaces with the incentive so that they would only provide 8.5 feet width for a parking space next to a column, or 17 parking spaces meeting that extra width requirement. Pedestrian access would be taken from Palm Avenue and Silver Strand Boulevard with the storefront along Palm Avenue. This is the south elevation facing Palm Avenue. Again, 35-foot height, 20-foot floor-to-ceiling height, and the design review board reviewed the project and recommended approval of the design with a 3-to-1 vote. There was 1 absent that day. This is the east elevation facing Silver Strand, the west elevation, and the north elevation. And these are the interior courtyards. And these are the sections for the project. One thing to note, again, there's a 35-foot height limit with a conditional use permit, and the project is proposing that 35-foot to be at the top of the parapets. Our code allows parapet walls to exceed the height limit if proposed for screening purposes, but this project's not proposing that. The top of the parapet's going to be at 35 feet. and it shows the various roof lines also. And the reason I'm not going into great detail on the design is the applicant has a presentation where they can go further into the details of the design of their project. These are the floor plans for the project. On the first floor, 2,121 square feet of commercial space. There'd be one accessible stall on the ground floor. And this shows the 18 parking spaces configuration. And there'd also be a plaza patio area off of Silver Strand Boulevard and Palm Avenue, and also some open space along the western property line. And this shows the alternate parking exhibit where they comply with the code with the 17 parking spaces. This is the floor plan for the second floor. There's 5 residential units on the second floor and an interior courtyard. So it's open in the middle. And then the third floor with 8 residential units, and it has a view of the interior courtyard. So again, open within the middle. These are some of the materials: plaster, brick veneer, metal awnings, and stucco. Again, the applicant can go into more detail on the design characteristics. The landscaping for the site needs to be 15% minimum. They're proposing 18.8% landscaping, so they comply with that. And there's various drought-tolerant landscaping and permeable pavers throughout, and bioswales also. Also, on the northeast corner of the site, there's a bike storage for the public. And this just shows the second and third floor open courtyard areas and landscaping. Some of the plants. Once we provided the staff report, we received some input from the community that there's a concern with regards to safety turning left and right from Silver Strand Boulevard onto Palm Avenue. So with that, there's a program that was recently adopted by the City Council, the Neighborhood Traffic Management Program. So we've initiated that. So our Public Works Department will evaluate that request, discuss it with the residents, discuss it with the business who will be interested in what's being proposed in front of their site. But just wanted to let you know, we did notice that request, and it is being evaluated. Following that, if the City Council is so inclined to receive public input and adopt resolutions 2019-8001 and 2019-8002, approving the project, including the vacation and sale of the city right-of-way. Of course, the City Council can approve the project with modifications, disapprove the project, or continue the project to a future public hearing. That concludes staff's part, but again, unless you have specific questions, the applicant also has a presentation.
Why don't we go to the applicant and we can ask questions afterwards. Thanks for that presentation.
Hello, City Mayor, City Council, thank you for having us. Well, this is our project at Palm Avenue. I've owned the property for probably 14 years. Units, we know, commercial on the first floor. We came up, me living in the city of my entire life, what I have seen that is, what everybody's worried about is there's too many units. They're saying that they want less units. Well, if we go less units from 14, let's say, to 11, we make them all 2 or 3 bedrooms, we get more parking. So what we've came up with is 9 1-bedrooms and then 5 2-bedrooms, because we own a real estate office and we don't have 1 bedroom. We have nowhere for the people to go. Of course, we're building all kinds of brand new houses, and that's great for people that can afford houses, but the people that can't afford them, you know, we're kicking out all the citizens of our city have nowhere to go because nobody's building an apartment. So then we also have the affordable units. We have a waiting list of people from the city that are waiting to, you know, they're actually on the list. So that's how we came up with the design of the units. And like I said, me being here all of my life, this is a project that we have put so much time and effort into to see what the public wants. We had a public forum at the project to get all the input from the citizens.
My name is Steve Dalton. I'm the project architect for this. I'm with Ryan Brem is with me tonight. He's the project architect within my office. Just wanted to say a quick, I'm a lifelong resident of Solana Beach and kind of feel a kindred spirit to some of the issues that Imperial Beach faces. Big changes that have happened over the last 50 years for sure. When Jody and George approached me first, they had a very unique mandate from developers in that they really wanted a special project that this needed to fit within the community character, and it needed to be an example, a good example of good architecture. There was plenty that they could point to that they didn't like, but they wanted to make sure that they really did it well. And so we took that approach and we took it very seriously, and we'll walk you through the design aspects of it tonight. One thing I'd like to point out is that the density bonus that we followed from the city's municipal code also allows incentives. These are when you can't meet a height limit or a setback or something, you can use this incentive to bypass that regulation. And we had 3 available to us on this project. The only incentive we've used is for the parking, and that actually is to the benefit of the neighbor and the city by actually increasing the amount of parking on our site. We provided the density or the number of units that you're seeing tonight within the existing setbacks, within the existing height limit, within the existing FAR, floor area ratio. So we're not here asking for any special compensation to bend the rules or to deviate from any of your municipal code, with the exception of the parking. And the parking dimension that we're asking for is consistent with the county of San Diego and the city of San Diego. So we're not, I think both of those jurisdictions find that that's a very reasonable and workable parking dimension within their community. So with that, I'd like to hand it over to Ryan Brem, who's been active or closely involved in development of the design. He's going to walk you through some of the specifics.
One more thing, there is not a brewery. I know the sign up there says brewery. We're looking for a restaurant. I'd like to have a steakhouse, it would be nice, but I'm not sure what it's going to be, but that's what it's not going to be a brewery. We have the new one coming down the street and we have one there. I don't think we need another brewery, but that's my personal opinion. But a nice restaurant would be really a good thing for the city.
Right. Thanks, George and Steve. Mayor and council, thanks for this opportunity to present. We're really excited about this project. We're proposing mixed use, mainly on the first floor. We have active commercial right along Palm Avenue facing, as well as open space at the corner that we're also proposing. So it'll really captivate people and make it a much interesting pedestrian-friendly design. We're also giving more space back to the public with a dedication that's part of the CUP process. At the second and third floors, we're emphasizing open space for outdoor living. And to this end, the building is set back 10 feet at the north and the west, sensitive to the neighboring properties. And then the unit living rooms are set back an additional 6 to 12 feet, so 16 to 22 feet from the adjacent property line. The units then facing the corner are set back additionally, so all of this massing is respecting the street and the neighboring properties and creating a lot more open space. And to that end, the open courtyard in the middle that goes for the second and third floor is fully open and available to all the residents. This section exhibit cuts through that same building going north-south, and it illustrates a few of these same items we just were looking at on how much open space is available. To the allowable building envelope of the neighbor to the north, the closest building wall is going to be at least 20 feet back and trying to respect, and then the living rooms are cut back even further. And at the front, to respect along Palm, we're dedicating a whole foot and then stepping back the units above the commercial space. We were very focused on creating varied roof lines and massing so that it wasn't a large block, and that even though parts of the project are going up to 3 stories, it would not feel like it was imposing on the street. And going above the minimum for the commercial space, going all the way up to 20 feet, we really felt was making that commercial viable, and that the space would not sit empty, that we would develop it and it would just sit there and it would be tough. As George says, we'd really like to get a great restaurant in that space, and making it this high would make the viability of all the MEP systems, HVAC, and everything else that would need to go into it functional. The project is really exciting. The pedestrian-friendly aspect right here at the corner, where the actual corner plaza opens right out from the commercial space that public can't go into the commercial space and use. It's also not infronting on the corner or the right-of-way, but really opening it up for everyone. There'll be people bustling in and out of the viable commercial right along the frontage, and really making it a vibrant versus what it is currently right now as a parking lot. The dedication is going to even make the sidewalk wider. And we're really going to focus on authentic quality on the aesthetic materials. We wanted to enhance the street corner, so we're using brick and metal siding at the commercial frontage. And then up above, we're using coastal lap siding, extended eaves, and wood beams at the residential portions, as well as decorative metal awnings and trellises to complement and add interest. The whole project has a varied massing and roof lines, and one of the main items behind this was historically to try to replicate the small lot character throughout the adjacent neighborhood, creating variety and also being sensitive to the neighboring properties, where right here, part of the project to the west is only about 2.5 stories high. It then steps up, but back off the corner at 3 stories. So it gives the effect of that smaller lot aspect, and also respects a lot of the sightline. The building planes are held back at varying distances as well, and just as important for the whole project that we continually kept in mind was the emphasis on outdoor living and focusing on this beach town atmosphere. I guess, you know, to sum up, one of the most important things that we talking about the units was that we are providing much needed housing, and 2 of these 14 units are going to be affordable. And so we've worked hard with Steve and Tyler over there with staff, and very much appreciate all your guys' help and coordination through this process. And we'd like to reserve the remainder of our time for following up.
Thank you so much. And if we have questions, we want to do public comment, and then we can call you guys back if we have council has questions and stuff like that. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Very good presentation. So we have a lot of public comments, and I've counted 30 over, I think 32 submissions. So anyway, we start with Bob Miller. You have 3 minutes, but if you can tell us what you want and less than that, because I've got a whole stack of cards, that's great. Not everybody wants to speak, but I'll make sure to read every card.
Good evening, council members, mayor. Bob Miller, 1167 5th Street. These architects, I think, have really hit the nail on the head. You know, a site speaks to what it wants, and a good architect can look at that site and say, this is going to work. Now, that doesn't mean there's only one design that works, but I think these architects have done very well. On a good project, you have to have a good architect. You have to have a landscape architect. And I love the fact that that looks like what happened. And number 2, they've really considered the setbacks. You get a lot better feel when a building is set back and you have more open space in front. I'm really big on design. This site is very important because of where it's located. There's only 2 or, there's not many sites like this in Imperial Beach. And it has to be right. The design has to be right on the money. And I think they've done a good job here. I like the idea of mixed materials. You see this in new architecture. And something else that's very important is that we have to set good examples on new construction in this town. I mean, you've got to do it. Something like this just has to be right on the money. And so those are my thoughts. I would say one more thing. I've talked to George Broadway about this, and he says, my heart and soul is in this project. And I'm gonna have to sign off on this. And I live here, so it's gotta be right. So he has a personal stake in this, and I know he'll do his best to make it happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Now we have Sophia Ulloa, and Sophia doesn't wish to speak, but she says she supports this project. She lives on 13th Street. Thank you so much. And I'm not sure if I'm reading all this. Is it Jerely Garcia? I'm not sure if he wants to support. Okay, he says, I support the project. I do not wish to speak. It lives on Dahlia, 306 Dahlia. Candy Unger, who lives on Seacoast Drive, supports the project. Is Candy here? Did you want to speak, Candy? Sorry. I saw Tim's letter, so maybe thought you weren't here. Okay.
You act like you don't know me.
Thanks for being here.
Candy Unger, 655 Seacoast Drive. Honorable Mayor, distinguished City Council members. Tonight you have before you a project that's not just a building, but part of a dream, the American dream. This is the dream of many, but in this particular case, this is the dream of one of our own. IB locals, whether you've lived here a year or your lifetime, we're family. Sorry, I'm gonna cry. George Broadway isn't an outside investor trying to make a buck on the backs of IB residents. He's one that knew the true value and potential of this amazing town more than 14 years ago when he and his wife Carla purchased the property with hopes of someday having the ability to build something of substance that this community would be proud to have. George's wife will tell you that holding on to this property over the past years hasn't been easy, but I'm so proud of them for making it work so they can finally turn this current eyesore into something we're proud of. Sorry, Carla, didn't mean to call it eyesore. This project isn't about coming in and cashing out like many other developers do here. This is a family from IB investing in their own community. I know you're all smart enough to not let the comments of the naysayers persuade your judgment for approving this project. It meets all the rules and regulations set forth by years of City Council representatives. We need housing opportunities in this community, and this project is providing that. Respectfully, I ask you approve this project as presented to you tonight and show this community that we support those who give so much of themselves to support the community of IB like the Broadway family does every day.
Thank you, Candy. We have Tim O'Neill provided a letter as well, just so the council can see that. I think it's item 32. And but he says, a letter previously submitted, fully support 41A and 41B, do not need to speak. And we have Brett Chase. Brett, did you want to speak? Is Brett Chase here? My grandfather built 236 Palm Avenue in 1947. It's an eyesore and it is time for progress. He said he supports the project. Carl Bradley. After Carl, we have Bill Laney. Maybe you can, if you, and you can stand maybe on the side. Mike McCoy and Brian Cook. So if you guys want to get ready, so we can keep the meeting moving. So again, after Carl, will be Bill Laney, Mike McCoy, and Brian Cook. Thank you.
Okay, good evening, Mayor Dedina, members of the council, members of the community. My name's Carl Bradley. I live at 607 Thorne Street. And I spent some time reviewing the drawings online. I reviewed the supporting documents. And first and foremost, I wish to say I absolutely and wholeheartedly support this project. It contains elements of mixed use. It will be a vast improvement aesthetically to the entire neighborhood. And I think most importantly to me is it contains an element of affordable housing, which is incredibly important to me. And I think part of the vision that I believe that of the city. I had some comments about the parking, but I think your staff sort of covered those. So I'm going to move right on to the questions I did have about the affordable housing. So And based on the 50% formula that's referenced on page 4 of the staff analysis, 2 of the units will be affordable, and that was confirmed by one of the developers people today. But my questions was, it's specifically the language that's used, and I think it's a term of art, is for very low income households. And I'm wondering, what is the required annual income for a family to qualify as a very low household? Which units will be designated as low income? Because there are 1 and 2 bedroom units, and I was wondering, would it be 2 of the 1 bedrooms? Would it pencil out, or is it negotiable with the developer to have them offer 1 of the 2 bedroom units? And what are the proposed rental rates for the low income units in dollars? I understand that this is not a dialogue, so I'll sit down, but I'm hoping that sometime during this presentation, perhaps the council or staff or developer.
We'll make sure we do that. Thank you.
So, thank you so much, and appreciate it.
Good. Now we have Bill Laney.
Hello, my name's Bill Laney. I'm a 50-year resident of IB, on and off. I'm here to speak against the project. I'm not against the project in principle. What I'm against is it's going to be too dense for our city. I live 5 doors down from where they're going to build this thing. And my concerns are it's too big, and they're putting too much in a small space. They're putting 5 pounds in a 2-pound bag is what it looks like they're doing to me. As I understand it, that property is zoned to allow 6 units, and they want to put up 14. That's a big increase in the density. The other thing they want to do is they want to shrink the parking down. Parking is already a mess on that street. I live, like I said, five doors down. It's already a mess. The Navy's coming through there big time, and they're going to get even bigger, and more of them's going to be coming through. They're already parking on that street for weeks and months at a time. We got trucks parked on that street now. We got motorhomes that's left there and everything else. And I think this is just going to add to the problem. So another thing I don't like is, why should they get to go? Why does it have to go to 35 feet? IB allows for 30 feet. Right across the street from there, I get my hair cut at a very nice little barbershop, and they don't have to be 35 feet tall. I get my pizza across the street, it's the pizza joint. They don't have to be 35 feet tall. Why does this thing have to be 35 foot tall? I just think it's too big for the area. I think it needs to be redesigned and redone. And I think it needs to be more compatible with the small town feel of Imperial Beach.
Thank you, Mr. Laney. And Mr. McCoy.
Mike McCoy, 132 Citrus Avenue. Mayor and City Council, appreciate the opportunity to address this issue. I agree with the last speaker that we're requesting that the project receive only affordable housing bonus, which will give it far more reasonable 11 units rather than 14. And we request that the project have parking spaces that fulfill the required width of 9.5 feet next to those pillars. We propose removing some of the parking spaces, which you went over already, west of the entrance to Tapatio and traffic calming on the west end of Palm at that location. And we have signatures on that, which we handed in. You already alluded to that. One of the big things is 1990s, we initiated legislation to address height and density in Imperial Beach. And we need to remain vigilant on this subject, deal with traffic congestion, address optimal social services to maintain quality of life as we know it in the community, and to preserve community character. This is what I call mission creep on these projects. And the project must address climate change to meet the demands of our climate action plan, including solar panels, energy efficiency, including insulation, double or triple pane windows, an electric car charging station to reduce our carbon footprint if we're gonna really address issues like sea level rise, at least at our local area. You can't do it without China helping us, but at least we'll make our effort. And we don't want to set a precedent with other projects coming down the pipe with allowing this to move forward with double bonuses and so on and so forth. It sets a precedent, and you go to the next one and the next one, and pretty soon you've got Pacific Beach or Mission Beach, and I don't want to see that. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Now we have Brian Cook. Brian here. Is Brian Cook here? Maybe he's in the back. He says he supports the project. Dennis Ryan. Dennis supports the project. I'm sorry. Okay. Well, yeah, it's fine. I don't know if you'll need it, but it doesn't say that. So we have to just, if it doesn't, it is. You're right. Okay. Sorry. Josie Hamada. Josie here? Would someone want to call her then? Or does she leave? Okay, there's no indicator she supports or against that. Marty?
Support.
Did you want to speak or?
Yeah.
Okay, sure, okay.
Sorry. Extra time. Mine's going to be short, sweet, and to the point. Thank you, Honorable Mayor, distinguished council members, and the residents of Imperial Beach. I had the privilege to see this project at a Seacoasters meeting, and I thought, wow, this is a good-looking project. And asked George about it, and George's heart and soul is in this project. He's a longtime resident. It's a mixed use, as they said, it's going to have affordable housing. And that building is the gateway to the beach. But being a retired master chief and being involved with the coastal project, I thought, what better way to have an entrance to the coastal project than to look at this beautiful building. Right now, we're improving Imperial Beach Boulevard. This is a great step to improve Palm Avenue. And why not let this project become a reality? Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Purno. After John, we have Joanne Barrows. Then we have Pat Hutchins, sorry, and Stephanie Rico. If I'm saying that correctly.
Good evening, everyone. My name is John Purno, and I live here in Imperial Beach. I actually, I'm not going to get into the real, whether it should be 11 units, 10 units, 14. I read the report, and I think the main point that I want to say is the city staff has said that it meets all the zoning requirements. That should account for something. One, it has affordable housing. Two, it's rental units, not condominiums or townhomes. I don't know of any apartments that have been built in Imperial Beach, at least down by the beach. Maybe there's some on the east side of town that have been built that is rental housing. I know a lot of it's been taken away over the years. There's lots and lots of condominium or lots of apartments that were converted condominiums. So when we had someone up here also, about affordable housing, and you hear it all the time, well, it's a supply and demand. If there's no supply, there's no way anything is going to get affordable around here. And then one other thing that was touched on by someone is that George bought the property. I didn't know he bought it 14 years ago, but I had it written down here, is he took the risk and bought this property 14 years ago. He's the one that's paid the property taxes. He's the one that's paid the insurance. He's the one that's had done the maintenance and everything on the building. And if it conforms to the city codes and the zoning, then, I mean, if he's not allowed to do it in some form, then what is the purpose of the zoning? If it really does comply to everything. I read a lot of these pages. I printed a whole bunch of them off, and I'm not the expert on that, but we've got our city staff over here that says it complies with the zoning. I didn't make the zoning. Maybe you guys didn't make it, but it's there. And I think that needs to really be taken into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Purno. Now we have Joanne Barrows. Is Joanne here? Joanne, do you want to speak, or you just want to? It says you support the project. Great, thank you. And then Pat Hutchins, thank you so much for being here. If you don't need to use all the 6 minutes, just.
Did I what? Did I what?
if you don't need to use all this, I know Mr. Ryan donated his time to you,
Well,
but
it depends on y'all's response.
Okay.
I am going to watch your faces and see how fast I have to talk.
yeah, there you go.
My name is Patricia Hutchins. I live at 1795 Williston Way, San Diego, California, 92154, which is 2.5 blocks the other side of IB city limit. We moved to Imperial Beach in 1957 and lived within the city until 48 years ago when we bought our house, which was still called Imperial Beach at that time. I own a business here and other properties. In the interest of full disclosure, I have to tell you, I am George Broadway's partner. He's my partner, actually. We've owned Hutchins Realty since 1970. My husband passed away 3.5 years ago. And 2 years ago, George became my partner. I have no interest, no financial interest or other interest other than to see the city move forward in this project. However, I did sell George this property before he ever became a licensee in 2004. So I know the problems that he's had with this property, just keeping it together, because Bob Shucker, the attorney, had his office there and lived upstairs. So it is an old building. I cannot remember what year it was built, but it's an old building and it needs to be replaced. And in real estate, we say the highest and best use. So that is when people ask me what I do, I say I sell dirt because that's what it is. What's on the dirt is something else, but the dirt is what has value. And there's been some discussion as to the setbacks and the parking and nobody likes change. I've been here, as I said, since 57, and I read social media every day about the city and how people moan and groan because that 9th Street project is in there and we don't still have the old Palm Avenue Theater. And I worked in that shopping center from 1959 to 1974. There was a bank on the corner there. The only place in that bank that didn't leak was the vault. And so if it started raining, we had cans and umbrellas and everything. Pinky Norcross owned that building. And I think Ed Spriggs is the only person that I have it's on the council that I have addressed the council before. But I've done it many, many times. But anyway, Pinky Norcross owned that building. He would not repair it. It had to be torn down. So we go back, some of us old timers, and say, we have to have progress. People do not like progress and they don't like change. I don't like it. I did not like the new library. When I saw the renderings, I thought, oh my God, that's the ugliest building I ever saw. I'm not a good judge of architecture, obviously, because it won that Orchid Award. And now I think, gee, that's really a nice looking building now that I've got used to it. The height limit, when you compare it to other structures, you have to compare it to structures that are like structures. You cannot compare a pizza place with no apartments on it to a development unit like this, which is mixed use. So those are my primary comments. The other thing, there was a question about the low income. That is set by HUD and also by the County of San Diego. They use the HUD as to how much income you can make. And we do some Section 8 because we have quite a few rentals here in IB, 400. But we do Section 8 and low income housing. So we get the document and they decide, and we get the documents from HUD, what the income level is to consider low income rental. So we don't get to say, we think this is low income and this is not. It's set by HUD and we follow those instructions. So if anybody has any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. I just wanted to tell you where I'm coming from. Okie dokie.
Thank you so much. I'm glad we didn't rush you. Thank you. We have Stephanie Rico.
Hello. I don't often do this, come to city council meetings, but I do on occasion, and I live by the project. My name is Stephanie Rico, 177 Carnation Avenue. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about that. I have built 2 houses in Imperial Beach, and I went by all of the regulations that the city of Imperial Beach gave me. I appreciated working in the city of Imperial Beach with all of the architects. I love the look of the new building. I think it's beautiful. I have a taste for more modern architecture. I think it would make a beautiful entrance to the city of Imperial Beach. I like the idea of affordable housing. I really like what is being proposed, except I do have to say that I do, as a resident of this particular area, have concerns about the number of units and about that slippery slope. There are 14 units being proposed there when it sounds to me like what should be there, as Mike McCoy stated, should be 11. You have 17 to 18 parking spots. Plus, you're talking about putting a restaurant in there that you want people to come to. I worry about the parking situation there in that area. That exit from Silver Strand to Palm Avenue is very difficult. It definitely needs to be addressed. I sometimes take 5 to 7 minutes to get out there in the morning to get out of that exit because it's impossible to see. And so I think that's something that is really important for the city council to think about is, do we want to make these slow changes so we can make more density, less parking? And then finally, I just want to say that these kinds of projects, I feel very strongly about abiding by the rules that City of Imperial Beach has put down already. That's why I want to be here, is because of the small town atmosphere, and that it's not a huge, dense Pacific Beach or Mission Beach. I want to be in Imperial Beach. That's why I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have Ruth Cole. Ruth, followed by Noreen Sullivan, followed by Becky Keene, followed by Michael Carey.
Hello, Ruth Cole, 326 Elder Avenue. Hello, thanks, Council and Mr. Mayor, staff. So I already sent in an email or a letter about the project. I support development there. I think that's a good idea, but I also feel there's too many units. I own a business at 201 Palm, which is across the street and a couple doors down. So I'll be impacted by the amount of traffic and everybody parking everywhere. I have some questions about affordable housing. Maybe I should get with Pat about that, because I know that's not Section 8 housing. Yeah, it's not Section 8. What is affordable housing for this particular project as a rental unit? Is that, I mean, I think we've asked a few times.
We can address that, absolutely.
Okay, great.
We'll make sure we do that.
Thanks, I appreciate it. So I'm not against Section 8 housing at all, but I would like some clarification on that. Again, as I said in my letter, I'd like to maintain the unique and authentic city that we have now. I think it will, if you have too many units in there, it impacts my business. It impacts with parking, but also in the 90s, you know, I was one of the people that was supporting Prop P, which is the height and density limit. And I think that should be respected. It's still on the books. I think the citizens did that for a reason. It was a lot of work. And at the time, when people involved were crunching the numbers, they found that residential does not necessarily pay for itself. That commercial does, but the amount of money that the city spends in services, etc., you know, sewage, water, blah, 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 costs more than the income that the residential will bring in. I would assume that still is the case. So I think that the 11 units makes sense. The 14 units for me does not make sense. So again, I support the development, but just make it smaller. Another quick question is the public space there. Does that not already belong to the public? Does it not belong to the city? It's not part of the lot there, but the city's going to sell it to Mr. Broadway. So couldn't the city put some nice things up there that are actual public and aren't fenced off? Or okay, that's it.
Great. Thank you so much.
I appreciate time. Thank you. So
Noreen by Becky Keene, followed by Michael Carey, and then followed by Randy Putland.
As I was saying, there's a lot I'm not going to say because so many other in front of me have, but I fully agree with the previous speaker. My concern is, as I started to tell you, I'm representing this evening with this truncated speech, that I'm representing almost somewhere between 50 and 60 people who have signed a petition opposing this project, mostly from the angle of traffic density. Palm Avenue has increased in density, traffic density in the last year or two exponentially. The pedestrians who walk on Palm Avenue very often have a weight at the curbs that is way out of proportion to what it should be. People trying to cross Palm Avenue, staying on Palm, just pedestrians, often, whether it's north and south on 3rd or on Palm, they have to wait. They have to be very careful. And we have such a mixed group of pedestrians, ranging from mothers who are wheeling infants in the strollers to older folks to people with pets. All kinds of people are walking. And the density of traffic that is going to come from a project that is this big is out of sight. And we're trying to lessen the density of traffic even before this thing is built. But after it is built, if you take just 14 units, if each of them has one car, that's 14 more cars going in and out and in and out and in and out. If you have in a 1-bedroom unit, 2 people with cars, and which is very logical these days for both parents of any family or 2 adults to have a job each and need a car each. So that doubles it to possibly 28 cars. Then you have the 2-bedroom units, which I'm using the number 14, which doesn't fit with 9 and 5. But in a 2-bedroom unit, you have the possibility of 2 cars, or 3, or as many as 4, depending on how the bedrooms are used and the number of people in the apartment. So you could range from 14 cars to 56 more cars every single day on Palm Avenue going every which way. Not to mention the left turn was remarked about earlier. The left turn from Silver Strand to Palm Avenue is
Just want to know your time's almost up.
an exercise in futility very often. Someone mentioned having to wait 5 to 7 minutes just to make a left turn. Now add as
Noreen,
many
can you wrap
as-
it up? Can you wrap it up? So
Pardon?
you're given 3 minutes. I just want to make sure you can wrap it up.
And given the number of cars which will have to be housed there or on the street, which will add to the density, is not healthy for the traffic on Palm Avenue. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Becky Keene.
Hi, I'm Becky Keene, and this is the first for me. But I just wanted to say that I was one of the people that was collecting signatures for the petition, and regarding the left turn lane going on to Palm from Silver Strand, it just, everyone I talked to would just let me sign it. It's a big problem, and we wish something would have been done about this sooner. The other thing is, instead of selling the easement to this project or the people that are doing the project, you could take that and make a right turn lane there so that it's easier to get out one way or the other. It just doesn't have to be one lane just to turn left or right. The other thing is, my husband and I own 3 homes on Kala, and I understand it, you know, investing in something being your dream and having your heart and soul in it. And I understand George, and he's put his time and money into this project, and he's going to get his money out of it. But thing is, that has nothing to do with what's before us tonight, with the density and the parking. And it's great affordable housing, given the 2 extra units, or if you go up to 11, great. But not having enough parking is a big issue. And you know, have a nice restaurant, perfect. I'd walk around the corner, I'd go there anytime. But only 2 parking spaces for that restaurant is ridiculous. And I think that, you know, it's a great looking building. I don't oppose it at all. It's just the size with the 35 feet height and the amount of units in it and the parking. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Michael Carey. Michael Carey is followed by Randy Putland, and then Roland Hayami, and then Anna Webb.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Michael Carey, 862 4th Street. I don't live down in that neighborhood, but I'm very interested in the zoning and the projects that go on in the city, and I have been for a long, long time. Go back to the 90s that Mike McCoy was talking about with Prop P, and a lot of energy that we put in for the quality of life in the town that we linked, at least in part, with the height and density of the buildings that were coming along. Tomorrow's my birthday, so I want to do a brief history, because I think I'm thinking about my history. We did this stuff in the 90s, but in 2010, the city redid its zoning, its commercial zoning. And as a part of that, it created 2 zones, an MU1 zone and an MU2 zone. The MU1 zone that goes along Palm Avenue, Highway 75, was intended to be high density, and it is. It's R1000. It's where the high density was going to go. The MU2 zone, which runs along Seacoast and then up Palm, and is a zone that this project is in, was intended to be, I'll call it moderate density zoning. And part of the issue there was they created a possibility whereby with a conditional use permit, a project could get an extra 5 feet, which would support the commercial, and it could get some extra density. So the density that it was intended to go to at that time was about R1200, which would, in this project, relate to 10 units. It was never in the wildest imagination of the people that created that thought that something would come along that would increase the density beyond that, and that's been the affordable housing. Affordable housing, which went into our zoning in 2016 and is part of the state mandated issue. So what we've got now is a project that's asking to go from the base density of 8 to a density of 14, which is an increase of 75% and way beyond what was intended. I like the design of the project. I like that it has affordable housing in it. But what I would recommend from my point of view is that you do not give, and I don't think you have to give, the double bonus. I think you do have to, and I support the affordable housing, which would take it to 11. I don't think that you're required to do the conditional use permit, and I would recommend that you not do that bonus for density, so that you keep the project at 11 units. That's what I would recommend. And
thank you so much, Mr. Carey. Appreciate it. Happy birthday. Now we have Randy Putland. Thanks, Randy.
Randy Putland, 10 Ebony Avenue, Mayor and City Council. Nice to see some new young blood up there. Congratulations. You're welcome, Andy. I was called from a friend, Brian, and he said something about this project, and I go, well, that's our 1,500, and I figured, okay, that's cool. It's going to be around 8 units or so. I came to design and review. There was only 2 or 3 people here. This place is packed tonight. I like it. I like what Bob Miller said. I came and I do like the look of the project. It looks really nice. I like the setbacks, which are important. I do think that the double bonus, I don't know if you guys have read it. I've read it like 3 or 4 times and I'm still confused a little bit. I can't tell exactly. It's not really in blue collar terms. These guys are experts and they understand it. I've asked them some questions, but I still am a little confused whether you need to give the CUP or not. George's, lifetime down here, but we are too, and we got our heart and soul in this town also. And we've tried to keep the density down, and we've tried to keep our spirit to be a nice, small, classic beach town. And I am worried about it going to Mission Beach and PB, like Doc McCoy said. There's so many things going on. I definitely want to see this project built 100%. That building is beat up, and this is very nice. But I think the density we could work with these people, George and his partners, and hopefully get this thing down to 11 or 12 units and make a compromise is what I'm hoping the council can do. I am adamantly opposed to 8.5 feet next to a column. I was down to eat some sushi about 2 months ago, and a little lady crashed her car into, our little strip mall down there on, what is that, 5th? And the spaces are so small. She was so upset, but from what I've seen over the years, those small spaces create enemies. And the neighbors get mad at each other. The ones parked too close and this and that. And there's our city ordinance says 9.5 feet, and it should be 9.5 feet. They say that they can do 9.5 feet, so we should do it. Even if it eliminates one parking place, we still eliminate a lot of problems down the road. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and City Council. Thank you for having us all here to talk about this. I don't normally share my personal stuff, but I did want to tell a story because it definitely has something to do with this. And I'm sure all you all will figure out all the details on how many units and how many parking spaces. I like the project. And in July, the owner put the house that we rented up for sale. We've been there 5 years. And suddenly we were thrown out for 2.5 months, going out for 2.5 months, trying to find something here in IB, and it wasn't easy. We lucked out at the last minute, a week before we had to move, and the people behind us bought a house and moved out. We were able to move in. But when you have to fill out a form for a property manager and it says, you're looking at a house, you just want to see a house. You have to go online, you fill this cut and dried box out. Does the average couple here bring in $10,000, $12,000 a month? Because you're supposed to earn 4 times what the rent is. And, oh, here's my pay stub. No, it's different. He's retired. I'm self-employed. So to me, having more options because renters aren't all evil is good if we can work this out for everyone involved to where, it's seamless and easy for everyone. Because it's competitive out there. We were competing against sometimes 30 to 50 applicants. So I just wanted to throw that in the mix. And I do support the project. I think progress is good if we can all work out the differences. Thanks.
Yeah, sorry. Erna Lockhart, there's too many units. Concerned about traffic. The D. Halferty, I think, is against the project. Again, I'm just trying to summarize to the council public. Rosa Patron is excited about the project. Ken Blinsman supports the project. Becky Keene is opposed to the project. Too tall, too much density, not enough parking. Eric Tomlinson is in favor of the project. George Broadway Jr. is in favor of the project. George, is that you or your son? Okay, all right, good. I'm glad his son is supporting dad. Jennifer Urbina is supporting the project. Christine Lepowski supports the project. I'm not sure this GLB 58 says supports the project. Anybody know who that is? Okay, well, anyway, GLB 58 supports the project. Aaron Buchanan Burkham supports the project. Jacob Broadway supports the project. Is that your son or your nephew? Yeah. Awesome. Okay, thank you. Glad their family's there. Adriana Zapata supports the project. Drizzy Drea supports the project. Diana Gonzalez supports the project. Rosa Guerrero supports the project. Carl Bradley already provided his comments. Hugo Oriola supports the project. We have two more. Tim O'Neill already, we had a card, but Tim's got a good letter, a letter here. And then Mark Kearns supports the project. So I didn't count all these, but who's in favor of against, but I want to make sure. I know we received other letters a while ago. Were those at some point considered? It was probably are the same. Are there some of the same people? Are these all included here?
There were a few that had been provided in the previous agenda packet.
Oh, okay.
In December, and then there were more that were added as last minute items.
Okay, so make sure I got all that. Okay, great. All right, so council, I know there's some questions about, first, can we address the issue of affordable housing? And then we can have council ask questions, et cetera. Just make sure we get that out of the way.
Yeah.
I want to thank everybody for their civil feedback, and whether or not you're in favor or against. It was really nice to have that example to start off the new year. So we really appreciate to have that civil discourse so we can exchange ideas and not yell at each other. So really, after what we saw last year here, really appreciate it. So thank you. Yes, continue.
Well, I'll try to answer the questions that had come in kind of the order and tie a few of them together. So the first individual that's had the question about, what is affordable housing? Pat Hutchins did a really nice job of explaining that it's really income dependent, and that dependency of income is based upon the county numbers, and it varies depending upon your family size. So I can give an example here. Tyler pulled up. So for instance, and also before I get into the quick numbers, just to give you an idea, there are those terms of art, whether it's low income, very low income, and there are different percentages. So just for an example, if there is a family size of one, the 80% of the AMI, which is the area median income, which is established by the county, that would, for a family of one, 80% AMI, that's low income, and that would be $54,000 of income. So if you have a family of four at 80%, that's $77,000, but very low income is $48,650. So that just gives you an idea. So that's how that's answered. And then again, we don't identify the units that are there, but there needs to be the 2 units, and they need to meet those criteria as a part of that project. So that, I think, answers the question about affordability and how that's determined. Again, it's not by the applicant. It's based upon these numbers. And as a part of this process, there is a requirement for an affordable housing agreement that effectively encumbers the property to ensure that those units are affordable.
I think most of the questions have been answered. I think I'm ready to try to give some thoughts on where I think we ought to be. And we could count up the speaker slips and have one conclusion or another, but I think the point is there's a lot of different opinions about this project in the community. And that's kind of where I wanted to start. I spent a lot of time going door to door in last year during the campaign. And I spent a lot of time in Precinct 160, where this is located, and also in Precinct 170. And I was really impressed by the people in these two neighborhoods' reactions about an existing project, 170 being Beezer Homes area, and the precinct across from that. I think it's maybe 180 or 190 across the street. Almost unanimously, the people in that area around Beezer Homes expressed high degrees of concern, to put it mildly, about the density of that project and the impact on their lives, the traffic, the views, and even on 7th Street, which is outside of the project, people said there wasn't enough project in the parking in the project, and so people were parking on 7th Street and taking up neighborhood parking. In Precinct 160, near this project, those people that I talked to back in going door to door back in September, October, early November, everyone pretty much who knew about the project had concerns about density and parking. As I've gone around the rest of Imperial Beach, every precinct, some degree of concern, maybe in the top 6, are about traffic, parking, the character of the community in terms of all the construction, all of the activity that's going on, etc. I came to the conclusion that I had come to even before campaign season, that we as a community need to come together, not just to argue about each project one at a time, but we need to have another review of where we are and where we're going, what kind of community we want to be, and what kind of zoning is appropriate for this community, so that we don't have to address this on a case-by-case basis. Some people made the comments about the history of our zoning. When we developed our zoning that was approved in 2010, it had been through a long series of reviews, community processes, workshops, etc. And we had density bonuses in that zoning provision, which is still in existence today. That's part of what we're talking about here. So that if a developer in the mixed use area, the CMU 2 area specifically is what we're talking about, but there's also CMU 1. If they came in with certain triggers for the density bonuses, public space, and some commercial on the ground floor, which is required anyway, and several other things. There are about 9 different qualifiers. They need to meet 2 of them in order to get a density bonus. This community agreed back in 2010 that we needed density bonuses in order to get the kind of retail here that we wanted, that this community wanted in the mixed use areas. We had not been discovered. Imperial Beach had not been discovered. There was very little demand for mixed use development in Imperial Beach. Our zoning was tailored for the time and designed to attract development of the kind that the community wanted. Quality architecture, pedestrian centered, good retail. Well, the Pier South Hotel came about. Other interest was stoked in the community. And lo and behold, over the next 7, 8, 9 years, we have had people lining up for building permits to construct projects in Imperial Beach. We have been discovered. We're one of the hottest communities in San Diego County, if not Southern California. Our property values have gone up faster than any other community municipality in San Diego County for the last several years. So what I am saying is that we do need a zoning review. We do not need these density bonuses anymore. There's adequate demand in the marketplace for mixed-use projects in Imperial Beach. Now that's just quickly, background in terms of the problem we have here. The problem we have here that we also didn't know about in 2010 was that the state was going to come along with affordable housing bonuses that would give developers by right the right to put in, to have a certain amount of density if they put affordable housing in their project without regard to local land use control. I've been on the League of California Cities Housing Community Development Committee for the last 3 years. I chaired it last year. There were a lot of bills to make it even worse. I mean, even more intrusive on cities. There are going to be even more this year. So we have the immediate question in front of us as to whether or not we want to proceed with allowing a double bonus. The first one we have control over, which is the conditional use permit increased density bonuses, which are part of our zoning. They're optional. The city council controls whether we go for those bonuses or not. We have that decision to make here. That was put in before we knew about the state mandates for affordable housing and those bonuses, and before Imperial Beach was discovered. So two big factors that should make us be very cautious. A third is there's more coming down the tracks in terms of state legislation, and there's more coming down the tracks in terms of developer interest in Imperial Beach. Okay, so this won't be the first. We're setting a precedent here, and we need to be very careful about the double bonus issue and whether this is what we intended with our zoning code. My view is that the amount of parking for that number of units is not sufficient, and that it's going to, just like Beazer Homes, it's going to push project parking into the neighborhood. This is inevitably what happens when you have these favorable zoning bonuses that don't require the same amount of parking to match the number of units going in. It's part of the bonus. I think that even if we cut it back to 11 units by not going for the conditional use permit bonus of 2 additional units, we'll go back to 8. 8 is where this starts. And this conditional use permit allows us to go to 10. Then with the state bonuses, that's how you get to 14. It goes to, I say 11, then to 14. I'm sorry for the confusion. But you can see that this is a stepped up, building on the base of what we approved under the conditional use permit. So my view is we should stay with the 8 units, and the state affordable housing bonuses are by right. There's nothing we can do about those. That will take us to 11. We should stay with the maximum amount of parking. And if that's, and the 9.5 feet was designed for if there are pillars that get in the way. In this case, my understanding is that the structure does not have pillars that get in the way, that they're on the front wall where the vehicles are parking. We need all the parking that we can get, so I would support staying with the developer's proposal for 8.5 foot parking. If people want to rent in the building, it's their choice. They should have the free choice in terms of whether they're okay with narrower parking. We as a community need as much parking inside the structure as is possible and feasible, because we're still going to get overflow parking even at 11 units, in my view, with 2 cars per unit. And then 2 parking spaces for commercial. We know that doesn't work either. That's kind of, I think, our requirement for the Brigantine and or close to it. And you know, it really is something we're going to have to look at in the future when we review our zoning to make sure we have adequate parking for mixed-use commercial as well. So that's, I'm sorry to go on for so long, colleagues, but I you know, I think that, you know, the history of how we developed our zoning, the different time, the different economy, I think is part of this. And what residents have said in connection with this project and the other project that preceded it, that's much larger, but its impact on the community and their feelings about it, I think are also relevant to how we decide tonight and the precedent that we're setting. Thank you.
Mr. West.
I think at the beginning, you all heard Councilmember Patton talk about the Daisy 5 project. I live a block away from the Daisy 5 project, and I took the time to go up there on Saturday to look at this project. And that project was a very interesting project. Our council approved it to take 6 affordable housing units, take them out, and we're going to put in 5 multi-million-dollar homes. I mean, they range in price from $970,000 to $1.2 million. That's right here in IB. And they just got finished. You know how many are already sold? They have 2 sold, and a third was a cash offer that they received this weekend. And they decided, well, you know what? We're going to go ahead and keep the one of the fourth ones, because you know what? We're going to rent it out for, you know how much? $4,000. I hope you're as shocked as I was. I mean, I feel like my wife and I are on a pretty good financial aspect, and I don't even think I'd even want to try that. And I happen to see a really good friend of mine who I serve with pretty regularly go into this unit, and we started walking around, and they're beautiful. I mean, they got the best appliances and little rooms that are for your dog to go out and go restroom and all this stuff. And I looked over at him and I saw the despair on his face of him and his wife. This is a couple that lives in IB, grew up in IB, met each other in IB, and you know what? They're never going to be able to afford a house in IB because they are essentially out of the market. And I saw him today, and he was really disappointed, and I was too. You know, I'm like, this is something that we need to be doing. Affordable housing is the biggest issue that we are going to be tackling for the next probably 5 to 10 years in the state of California. Some estimates have us 100,000 homes below where we need to be to get to where we can actually catch up on the supply and demand curve. And that's challenging. And every community is having these same struggles that Imperial Beach is having right now. It's tough. You know, we're talking about a property that is, 3 units? I do have some questions, Steve, and I want to, just for your clarification. So our ordinance will give 8 units, correct?
Yeah, our base density would allow for 8 units.
How does the state go with calculating how many units is actually there? Do they round up to the 9 units?
The state would round up.
So in other words, we'd get 9. All right. And then how does the affordable housing go? It's 35% of that base number, right? 35% gives you the next.
Yeah, 9 times 35% would be 12.15, so that's 13.
So you'd end up at 13. And then isn't there a plus up for veterans?
There are a number of different that is one of them. Yeah.
So in other words, we don't even have to give a conditional use permit to get to the numbers 214, because it's actually based on what our ordinance is and what the state has. We could end up at 14 without the only conditional use permit we'd have to give would be actually for height, correct?
That's a tough question to answer. Doing the math like that, it's possible, but we certainly didn't review an application like that because it could vary depending upon different variables. Sure. But just doing the math, just like with our zoning, right? There's a lot of zoning where it says, oh, you can achieve 10, but when you take a look at the site and different constraints, you may only able to achieve something else. But you're absolutely correct in doing the math that way.
Yeah, we'd end up at pretty much 14 without even doing a conditional use permit. I think it's really important for us to also think about something that's coming down the pipe right now. It's called SB 50. SB 50 is it's a Senate bill that was actually proposed last year by a senator named Weiner out of the state of out of Los Angeles. Don't giggle. Mr. Weiner is a very strong and moving forward person who's dealing with housing issues in Los Angeles, which are really difficult. And I've been talking to our officials from our assembly and also our Senate, and they are pretty sure that his SB 50 is going to make it through the Senate, but it's probably not going to make it through the assembly this year, but it will next year. SB 50 will give the state of California the right to come into our communities, find a transportation stop, which could be defined as little as a bus stop, and build an 8-story building. An 8-story building, and we would have nothing to say about that. It is really important on it that I believe that we need to be managing this issue. We need to be a part of taking advantage of what we have in our underdeveloped areas, in particular ones like this, and figuring out ways to use our ordinance, the stuff that our people put together with the we're not going to be able to get rid of the state things, but we need to do that before SB 50 comes down the pipe, because then we are really, you want to see the Imperial Beach lose its character, that will be the time. So I thank you guys for coming out here and dealing with this issue, all of you, whether you're for or against this, because it's challenging. It is really hard to deal with housing. Kevin Faulkner last night, we were at the mayor's for San Diego. They're talking about removing the requirements for parking, removing the requirements for height, just so they can build enough affordable housing because they have a homeless issue. Now it's different, but that's right near us. So I think it's important for us as the city council to manage this to where we are not caught with SB 50 being the reality in our community. I feel very strongly that I would like to approve this project, and I agree with the 8.5 that my colleague says, but I would rather see 4 affordable units in there instead of 2. I think if we get the 14, I think we should have four affordable units in there, and I would like one of them as a former veteran. I mean, as a veteran, I'm always a veteran. Sorry about that. As a veteran, I feel very strongly that our veteran community is underrepresented when we're talking about homeless issues, and I want to make sure that one of those belongs to a veteran. So I want to move forward. I feel very strongly that I want give the 14 units with 8.5 parking.
I'll be brief. I also come from speaking to thousands of our neighbors the last few months, and in my experience, affordable housing was the #2 issue in our community, just behind water quality. And yes, indeed, we are living in a crisis, and that crisis is because we don't have enough supply of housing units. I think we have a very good opportunity, a very good project proposal where we have actual units that will be available for rent. I spoke with many of you here in the room regarding aesthetics and setbacks, and I think this is a project that is very much in line with our neighbors here in the area. I think it's great that it will have commercial space. I think that will bring a lot of job opportunities for locals. I did have a question for the developer, for Mr. Broadway, regarding that. I don't know if this is the right moment to ask, but my question was regarding whoever you end up renting the commercial space to, will you make it a requirement to hire local IB resident? Or is that something you might consider?
Can you do that? I mean,
Yeah, well, I guess not a requirement, but is that something that you could promote or encourage?
Live in here all the time, nowhere. So, like go from go get it. Like our company build a big house, all these 40 different.
Come on up.
Okay.
Yeah, so will you be considering when you rent your space, promoting or allowing opportunities for whoever you're going to rent to encourage hiring from locally?
I will encourage them as far as the law will allow us to. I mean, they're very strict on that, how we can. The same thing with renting to them. They make the rules when we can't. But me, like I said, living here, I want the people to work on the building. Like we hire a lot of people, we've been in business 30 years in Imperial Beach in our construction company. These are jobs for the people in Imperial Beach. These houses, are our friends that I've grown up with that have nowhere to live. We don't have any apartments. There is nobody that I know has built any affordable housing, more or less apartments, especially down by the beach. Everybody wants to sell them, make condos. I'm going to keep this building. Anyhow, the rents, or whatever the rents are. I mean, we don't make the rents. It's whatever the rents are going to be. The market varies. But I would rather keep the rents down and I don't want the people moving in and out. So sometimes people don't understand. They charge so much money for rent, and then the turnover is so much. Keep the rents down where people can live in our city, stay here, and not, move in and out all the time. But as far as, people that to work here, I would love to. But you have to be very careful of who you hire. And, you don't hire this person because he doesn't live here. You'll get in much trouble.
Okay, thank you.
Great. I want to thank everybody for coming out and speaking, especially the legendary Pat Hutchins. Thank you so much. Enjoy. I haven't had you in front of the council before. So anyway, thank you after your 56 years of residency here. So one of the things that struck me, and I'm a kind of a data junkie, was when we talked about affordable housing, very low income affordable housing being, I think you said $48,000 a year. Is that right, for income?
Was it 42.6 for a family of four? 48.6 for a family of four.
I have the census data up here for Imperial Beach, and the median household income in Imperial Beach, the last census, was $52,000. So the median income of Imperial Beach is pretty low income. So I was really involved with the folks that were really interested in managing height and controlling zoning back in the 80s and 90s. Me and my family were really involved in that because we were facing giant high rises and monstrosity projects. Back then, I would have fell over in disbelief to have such a project as beautiful and well designed as this one. We didn't see projects like this in the back. We had the dregs of architects and developers, and frankly, we can see that around our cities, the horribly designed buildings that we have in the hodgepodge, and really no strategic vision on how we've done commercial and residential development. And I think that's really changed over the last few years, especially the last decade. I too have walked twice. I've been growing up in IB on the east side, but I've walked twice, most of Imperial Beach. I think the thing that really hits me the most from talking to people, in addition to the water quality issue, is that people are literally freaking out about how expensive IB has become. I just looked on Zillow. The average price of the home for rent in Imperial Beach, or just units for rent, are $2,200 a month. That's actually higher than the city of San Diego, the city of Chula Vista, the city National City. In fact, I have an employee at Wild Coast who lives in Carmel Valley. He pays less for a 2-bedroom condo in Carmel Valley than he would in Imperial Beach. So I think that's something that's very concerned me. The average price of a home on Zillow in Imperial Beach that's available is $650,000. I estimate that less than 3% of the folks in Imperial Beach could actually afford to buy a home here. In fact, less than that, 70% of our residents are renters, right? 70% of our buildings in Imperial Beach are renter-occupied buildings. But the reality is rents are going up and people are leaving. That's the consistent thing that I hear when you, not just at the beachfront or in the neighborhood that I grew up on California Street after moving from IB, when my parents could finally afford to buy a home for $80,000. But more importantly, my wife and I were able to buy a home when we were starting our careers because interest rates were low and the house was $235,000, a little different. When I got out of college in the 80s, you could find a job and I could live on the beach for $800 a month. And I was lifeguarding, so we lived together. My kids can't afford to live here. My kids can't afford, they're in college now, they can't afford to, they'll never be able to afford to buy a home here unless they really do well financially, like 30 years maybe. But more importantly, what I saw when I walked and knocked on doors is shocking poverty. I saw kids living in living rooms. And you really see that when you go on the east side of IB, when you see our densest neighborhoods, and you really see the fact that the majority of kids and families are living in 1-bedroom units, 2-bedroom units, and people are really living on the edge. So there's been this prevailing sort of wisdom that IB is being gentrified. Frankly, I didn't see it when I walked. What I really hit me was that IB continues to be a low-income community, a working-class community where people are living on the edge, primarily because of what's happening throughout California. Our state has become a divide between those who have and those who don't. And unfortunately, when what's happened with our homeless crisis combined with the mental health services and the lack of affordable home, we have this housing crisis, people leaving the state, and people really basically not investing back in their communities because they're spending so much money on rent. What I hear from the Governor Newsom, what I hear from our state legislators is that and what I see happening in places like Encinitas, where the state is going to take away the housing authority from the city, is that unless we continue to identify ways of building more affordable housing and more housing in general, I think we're missing about 79,000. The deficit for housing right now in San Diego County is about 79,000 units, somewhere around there. That they will take away our housing authority away from us. We'll see more bills to promote more housing, to make sure that working class and middle class families in California have a place to live. So, the California dream that I but I inherited when I graduated from UCSD in 1987 was there was plenty of jobs, there's plenty of places to live, and we had I didn't have any loans from college because school was $400 a quarter at UCSD, $1,200 a year that I paid for by lifeguarding. It's a very vastly different place than it is now. And so we've got to make an effort in IB not to do things like just promote buildings like you just talked to, these condos, make sure that IB becomes a place where working class families and middle class families can continue to afford to live. More importantly, just frankly, I'm listening to the residents, and I understand how you feel living next to 9th and Palm, the new 9th and Palm shopping center, although we haven't had any negative impacts from that, or across from, I don't live too far away from the Beazer Home project over on the Bayfront, which Dr. McCoy, you were an enthusiastic supporter of, which I'm surprised now that you're against it, because actually you were the one that helped cut the deal to build that project and give us extra wetlands. But we haven't noticed any negative change in the neighborhood, and I just live 2 blocks back from Palm Avenue. So I think with that, I understand how the residents feel, but I'm trying to look at the big picture and understand how the majority of IB residents feel. The majority of our folks are living on the edge and living with either middle class or working class families. And we need to create more units in the marketplace so we can bring down the rent and make IB continue to be an affordable place to live. Because it's not right now, we're on the edge of it not being affordable. So with that, I'd like to see is there a motion for this? Is there a motion, Mr. West, for the?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask a question or two that I forgot to ask earlier. And this is all about us discussing. We don't have to rush to a motion.
Well, I think we're ready to roll to
I have something I'd like to say. Can I?
Sure.
And this goes to the sponsor. One of the misnomers here is that Imperial Beach can build affordable housing as if we could control that, and that's going to make a dent in the supply and demand for affordable housing in this community or in San Diego County, and it's just not. We're talking about 2 units for this project, and we're not arguing about those 2 units. Those are going to be affordable units. So one of the questions I had for Mr. Broadway is, where'd he go? The question comes down to, what is this project and its affordable units going to do for Imperial Beach? And it's an offshoot of Councilmember Gary's question, which was going more to employment and construction and that sort of thing. You said you had a list of applicants already for your units. Did you mean the affordable units or the whole project?
Affordable units. As soon as we put it in the paper, the front page of the paper, so everybody would know about it, instead of hiding it, we put it right there. We got started as soon as the people came to the meeting that we had on site.
Right.
They found out about the affordable housing, and then they start calling because we left their phone number there for them to call. That was their to answer your question, is it was the list for the affordable housing.
And a good number of the people on that list are Imperial Beach residents.
And well, as far as I can know, I couldn't, I didn't ask them where they live. You have to be real careful.
Yeah.
So I mean, that seemed to, from my response from them was that they were local residents. I've lived here because that's what I'm hearing from them. That call. I've lived here all my life and I can't live here. So everybody's really interested in affordable housing, whether we like it or don't like it. It's going to be here. Right. We just have the choice right now of how we're going to build it, because somebody else is going to build. They're going to build more. Right now we have we could have 15 units if we wanted to. By the veterans, we could have 15. We came in at 14. If we came in at 12, like everybody says, let's put in 12 3-bedrooms. You know how many parking we got? We just doubled. I put 9 1-bedrooms because the military's right there. I have all these officers coming and nowhere to stay. So I figured 1 guy per unit. Instead of putting 11 units, I'll put 3 bedrooms. All 3 bedrooms, 11. And now we have a parking problem. Not parking because the parking will be fine. It's just that where's everybody going to go? All these 3 bedrooms, you got all these people. These 1-bedrooms is the best I could do for the people of the city. That what I thought was is best. Remember this, I've lived here my entire life. I'm 57 and I've been here all my life. This is important to me. So, I walk down the streets the same as you guys. I got off your question. Sorry.
Yeah. So to me, the question isn't just building affordable housing, but finding creative ways to make sure that Imperial Beach residents who are, as you said, Mr. Mayor, stacked up in overcrowded conditions and otherwise, have at least some chance of getting their own rental unit. It'd be great if we could find a way for them to buy their own homes, but that's somewhere else. Right now, we're talking about affordable units. What does that mean? This is a preliminary discussion involving your project, but as we know, the state is going to be making it either through carrot or stick. More likely that we're going to be addressing affordable housing with other projects in the future. So we really do, and I say this to our city manager and city attorney and planning people and our real estate community, we've got to find ways to make sure that maybe we advertise locally. Maybe we have some other tools to get the word out to our community first. Not that we're discriminating against people based on their residence, but we're giving Imperial Beach residents the first opportunity.
We run our ad in the paper every week, not in Coronado, in Imperial Beach, so that we can get to Imperial Beach. Remember, Mrs. Hutchins told you we have over 400 units, and most of our clientele are from Imperial Beach. So, I mean, as much as we can, we try to keep the people that live here, that we know, Serge knows, and I know, we know all these people that have nowhere to go. And they lived there their whole entire life. Everybody's just making money, building condos and houses and taking the money and running. We have the opportunity where somebody's lived here all their life to build apartments so we can keep the people in our city that were grown up here. This is very important for our city. We need to keep our people that work for a living have somewhere to live.
Thank you very much. My other question was for the city staff, and this is kind of a fact check on Mr. West's math that you seem to agree with in terms of the number of units. As it says on, well, if it's not right, then city staff needs to make the correction. And I think you were trying to do that. On page 4 on the report, 4 of 9, where it has the table in terms of density, etc. It says base density, 1 unit per 1,500 square feet, 8.27 units, rounded to 8 units. What's wrong with that?
So that's the way that the city calculates density. What Mr. West had indicated is, how does the state calculate density?
Okay.
And they round up a fraction. So if it was 8.01 or 8.99, it would be 9. And based upon, and if that's the way that density was calculated, again, that's not the proposal that was sent to us because we reacted to the application that came before us. If an application that came before us had included some other factors, because again, when you rely exclusively on the state code, there are some different elements to consider, even as it relates to parking. There are parking reductions that are allowed as well. But the application that we responded to, we calculated our base density the way that we have always done it, which is you don't get a fraction of a unit the way that the city calculates density. So if you don't get to that whole number, any fraction is dropped off. So the 8.2 here would be 8. But if the state were to calculate density, they round up any fraction up for affordable housing. So under that scenario, that 8.2 would be 9. You would take that 9, multiply it by 35%. That results, I believe, in 12.15. That 12.15 translates into 13.
And then you get another.
So who does that math? Is it we who do that math who are improving the project, or is this going to be imposed on this on Imperial Beach because of the state regulation?
Again, the math that we performed was the application that came before us, but that math, the rounding up of the math, that is the state requirement for affordable housing rounds up.
So there's other ways to do this, and there's to actually use the fractions that are provided instead of rounding up, which is more accurate. For example, if we took the 8.27, that's the base density figure that you have in the report, and we multiply that by the 2.89, which is the state density bonus, 35% bonus. 2.8 extra unit. So 35% of 8.27 that's actually 2.89 is 35% of 8.27. If you add 2.89 in 8.27, you get 11.16. Okay. That is the accurate math to get you to what the unit should be. If the state wants to round any number up, it's the 11.16. It shouldn't because it's so close to 11, way closer to 11 than 12. But if there is going to be a rounding up, it, at the worst case scenario, shouldn't be 2 rounding up multiplied together or added together. It ought to be the final figure, which is the 11.16.
Well,
okay, and that means 12 units at max, based on us not approving more units under the conditional use permit. That's the way I figure this. I mean, to me, that's just reasonable. That's just taking the decimals as they are, the facts as they are, not rounding up until you get to the final figure.
Right, and again, the project that we had before us, the one that we evaluated, we calculated the base density the way we calculate base density. If a different proposal had come in and looked at the way that the state calculates density, they round up any fraction. And the state law, as I understand it, and I believe we can certainly pull it up. It does identify any fraction is rounded up.
Well, that's not in the document. That's not in the materials that we studied.
Because
That's again, yeah, the application that came before us was a conditional use permit, and we've always calculated base density the way that we calculate base density, and then the use permit would go from 8 to 10, and then the bonus on top of that from the state would be the 10, would be 35% of the 10, which would be 13.5, round up to 14.
Okay,
that's the application that was before us.
So my motion is that we stay with the conditional use permit amount of 8 units. Whether it's rounded up or not, time will tell whose numbers are going to prevail as far as the fraction and the rounding up. But that's my motion, that we stay with the 8 units under our conditional use permit. The project is a great design. The 2 affordable units are great. What we need to do on this site, this is perfect for it. But I think that, the community in that area, the parking conditions, the precedent that we're setting with additional state mandates on their way.
Before I continue with the motion, we need to close the public hearing. So I'm going to do the gavel and close the public hearing. So I just want to make sure that we did that officially.
All right. So my motion is that we stay with the base density and not provide a conditional use permit density increase, but all the other elements of the conditional use permit, including the reduced, including the parking width and the other design elements, are fine.
For a second. One second. Is there another motion?
Motion failed due to a lack of second.
Yeah, I have a motion on the floor to approve the project as with a not using the conditional use permit, using the state calculations for 14 units, or do I have to use the conditional use permit?
The application before you is
Okay,
the
has
request for the
conditional-
conditional use permit, correct?
Okay, so I move to use the conditional use permit to take the application process to 14 units using the 8.5 for the parking and including any of the Dr. McCoy's, making sure that we have as much as we can for electric car charging stations and solar panels on the building. Solar issues, and for affordable housing.
I second.
So
Discussion?
perhaps the applicant would want to respond to that as well. Again,
That's what we need to do is have them respond.
So as I understand it, the motion
Yeah,
on the
we need to have- we
the
need to
motion
have-
on the floor is to recommend approval of the project as submitted with, instead of 2, 4, and then with add additional car charging and solar.
Can I have a moment?
Yes.
Yeah, we'll take a 3-minute recess.
An electric parking space is designated only for electric vehicles. That removes another parking space.
No, you can actually put it in a. You can put it in a end cap. They do it. You look at Sandak. They do it there.
Oh, no.
They do it there.
Oh, no. Where do you? This is going to be.
It doesn't-
This is going to be a disaster.
Can we get back to the meeting? Mr. Broadway. Broadway.
Are we ready?
You guys ready?
No, I'm.
Talk to us. I did.
Yeah, if you want to get.
We're continuing the meeting.
All right.
Okay. We don't have a problem accepting the green building measure, EV charging stations and solar ready roofs and all of that. The 4 affordables are really big ask. You know, there's a cost and a revenue side to this performance, right? To the investment in the brick and the architecture and the outdoor spaces, all of that is adding to the cost side. So it's really difficult to willy-nilly or quickly just jettison or give 2 more units. He's going for 55 years, so that's a big commitment. We really need to stay at the 2 units. We would offer that we would work with the city staff to identify ways to prioritize IB residents, and or if there was other affordability measures that we could incorporate into it. But it's difficult to be held 55 years on the board.
What about 2 with a veteran on a 3rd portable?
If we get to a 3rd, we'd like to go to 15 units.
Why can't we have 15?
Not being flippant.
Yeah, we're not trying to be.
The veterans provision, and I forget the AB number, but that would allow us in this scenario to add a 15th unit.
Yeah.
The math supports that. The parking, again, one of the, there's this worry about the double dipping, but we're also feel like we're kind of getting double hit here. We're not using any of the incentives that are normally associated with providing the affordable housing, other than the density bonus itself. We're not varying from setbacks. We've parked at the city of IB's parking ratio, right? If this was a true state affordable housing project, we would be required to have 12 parking spaces on the site. We're required by the city to provide 17, and we're offering to put 18. So if we need to start increasing the number of affordable units, then we need to start looking at ways to offset the added cost of that, loss of revenue for that, by other measures.
I understand, but what you're hearing from our community is that they want affordable housing, but they don't want they first of all, many of them don't want as many units as you're talking. So you're not going to get your 14 if we can't get the affordable housing. So I mean, it's a very difficult thing for me to balance what all of the residents are asking us to do and answer an affordability question, an affordable housing question. And it's, trust me, this is every community in California is dealing with this right now. So I mean, if you really want us to our city council to approve something, I mean, we probably need to, if you're going to go to 14, you need to have at least 3. I mean, I will not be able to walk down the street, and Lord knows, I think all of you see me. I will be walking my dog down that street all the time. You all know I walk in that community every day. So I think that if we can't get 3, I don't think the council will approve it either. I mean, I just can't see the community supporting that.
Okay. Make a deal. We can, if you guys will approve it today, we'll give you 14 units, 3 affordable units. I mean, we'll do the solar, we'll do the charging station. We're doing everything we can. I mean, that's as fair as anybody could be.
I move to approve 14 units, 3 affordable units, and with the with the solar charging and car charging stations for the unit. I move.
Wait.
That's all in the.
So we need separate motions.
Yeah.
The first, we would need a motion on the city's right-of-way, which is 2019-8002. And as I understand it, there's no requested modifications on the approval of the right-of-way resolution. It sounds like there's requested modifications on the approval of the development application.
So moved.
So go ahead and vote on the first resolution, and then we need to get the assistance of staff.
There it goes.
Sorry. Motion carried unanimously by those present. Patton disqualified due to a potential conflict of interest.
Right, we need to at least, we don't have to include the exact language, but it would be helpful if staff could help point out the areas in the resolution that are going to be changed and what the idea of the change would be.
So as I understand the motion on the floor, and we're efforting those areas of the resolution, but the resolution would reflect that instead of 2 affordable units, there would be 3 affordable units, that the development would include the green building standards to include the EV charging and solar ready roof, and the 8.5 stall as submitted was fine. So effectively, the recommendation is everything that was submitted as proposed, but for a 3rd additional unit and the green building standards as I had outlined.
Yep. So moved.
Motion carried unanimously by those present. Patton disqualified due to a potential conflict of interest.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was hard. Hey, Mayor, can I make one comment?
Nice job.
I want to talk about developers. Yeah. Thank you. Wait, we got one more.
I'm calling the meeting to order. I know everybody wants to hang out and talk. Please do it outside. Love to see everyone hanging out and talking, but that Bridget. Oh my God. I see you say Bridget. I can't even recognize you because you had all your stuff on. All right. Nice to see you. All right. Adoption of, item 4.2, adoption of ordinance number 2018-1179, amending Title 15 of the Imperial Beach Municipal Code to add Chapter 15.56, Imperial Beach Mills Act program related to the preservation of historic properties. Where's Mr. Patton?
He's on his way.
Okay. And public hearing to consider adoption of resolution number 2019-8003 for the Imperial Beach Mills Act program fees. Declaring the public hearing open.
Mayor and council, what staff is seeking tonight is for the, I'll just wait 1 second here. What staff is seeking tonight is to waive the reading and adopt by title only ordinance number 2018-1179 that adopts the Mills Act program in Imperial Beach, which again modifies the property tax for historic structures that are either on the National Historic Register or the California Register of Historic Places. And they can use those tax savings to maintain those historic structures or to restore them back to their original historic structure. So if things have been added and they needed to modify the structure to bring it back to its original building, that's what it would allow that to do. And then we are also asking for adoption of resolution 2019-8003. That simply establishes fees for the administration of the Mills Act program. I don't believe that there are any cards for comment on this, but I did receive, and I think you have in front of you, we did receive an email from an unknown, we're not sure who she is, but some lady named Lori Bragg, who is in support of this. Of course, she's been very involved in our historic society, in our historical society in the community, and wanted to make sure that she is in support of that. So that's essentially what we're seeking.
I didn't the public hearing open.
I think you did.
I did I? I think. Okay, well.
It's open now. We better do it twice than not at all. So,
Madam Clerk, do you have any additional report to give?
No.
Madam Clerk, do you have any speakers left besides the?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Just for the public record, former council member Lori Bragg provided an email at 4:53 p.m. today saying, I'm in total support of the agenda item this evening dealing with the Mills Act. I'm hopeful that homeowners will take advantage of this wonderful opportunity to help preserve our history. This is an important first step in the preservation of very few historic homes we have in Imperial Beach. Thank you, Lori Bragg. City Council question? Mr. Sprague.
One question. Can you provide or community development staff an example that would illustrate what sort of property tax concessions and how much that might be in the case of a typical historical building?
Yeah, so there's a formula. In fact, I can give the council the website. We also have a handout on it. So instead of calculating your property tax based on the value of your home, the property tax is calculated differently through a formula in the state. Now, it's not always a savings. The Mills Act may or may not be used. It'd be very important for you to talk to your accountant. And you'd have to do, some people with their Prop 13 exemption, depending on how long they've lived in their home, that exemption may actually be more beneficial to them than using this.
Before we continue, we have.
Oh. Okay, apologize for that. So there's a formula in state, and it's a little bit complex, but basically, for instance, if your building is a commercial building, it will look at the potential rents that you can generate from that building. So rather than paying property tax based on the value of the building, it's based on the potential rental of the building, and then there's a formula in state law. And typically, hopefully, you can save some of the property tax money. Now, that property tax does not necessarily go into the pocket of the property owner. It has to be used to restore the building and to maintain the building in its historic nature. So that the idea is not to save on property tax, but it's to use your property tax to maintain the historic structure.
Ordinance number 2018-1179, an ordinance of the City Council for the City of Imperial Beach, California, amending Title 15 of the Imperial Beach Municipal Code to add Chapter 15.56 Imperial Beach Mills Act program related to the preservation of historic properties.
Second.
Mr. Mayor, can we have an oral vote? I still have Pat and Mark absent. I'm sorry.
Oh.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Motion carried unanimously by those present.
Correct. Resolution.
So move.
You can vote electronically.
It's not working.
Oh. Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously.
All right.